Hello, lovely
You get
people.
mid-flow.
Welcome back to the Distinct and Jovial podcast. And it is always in mid-flow, isn't it? Normally I get the interruptions from Hooper. So, welcome to probably the most disorganised podcast that we've ever done
Since
in
the
our
last
life,
one.
known to man. It is...
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, the last one was a
No, it
cluster, wasn't it? So the last episode is the filler episode, like that episode 7 of a 10-part series. This is episode 8. It's the one before the finale where they run out of budget and they decided not to build a script for it.
Is this like?
My name is Dom.
Is this like the last? Is this
Go,
like the last
Jerry.
episode
My co-founder
of,
Jerry. Go.
Game of Thrones. Is this where we're going with it? Okay,
No, nothing's that. It's not that bad because they spent money on
That's
it and
true.
still managed to
CGI.
fuck about with it.
No,
There's no CGI either. I mean,
That's
you've
true.
got to keep the CGI budget. but
sorry,
not the
we
script
completely
budget.
derailed the intro.
That's absolutely. Yeah, I don't care. It is. Wow, I've still got the 3rd of October written down. It's not. It's the 27th of October. It's the latest that I think we've ever done a podcast to the end of the month before when
It
it's going
can
to
be
be
the
released.
3rd of October if you want. We can make it the 3rd of October if you like. I mean, nobody's going to know. We could just say it's the 3rd of October.
We can't now.
And
The cat's out of the bag.
we all believe it. It's the 97th day of October.
Certainly feels like it.
Well, the last time we did it was in January, and it was the 20-something of January, and it was like we were recording this on the
That's it,
22nd
it
day of
did feel like
January,
it.
because it felt like it was
January is long.
quite long.
Yeah. As you may have heard, we have Chat Stevie T back on the podcast. He is massively underprepared, and he's just joining us for the sake of it.
It's not about being underprepared. It's about being not prepared at all. I've been trying to get hold of both of you for all time. You went off to America. Jerry doesn't know what a phone is. So there
I
you
don't know
are.
what you mean. What do you mean?
Not wrong.
Screw you guys. What do I mean? What do I mean? Let's see. If I want you to answer a text message that I need answered tomorrow, I need to send it 3 weeks ago.
You need to get your people to speak to my people. Is what you need to do.
You don't have people. That's the problem. You don't even have you. Don't think you know how to use a phone. You have to get Rachel over to answer your texts en masse every week. I'm sure what happens is you phone her up and you go every week, and she come over and just answer your texts en masse. And she does it because your thumbs don't work properly or something.
She does refer to him as walking like a sim.
Maybe you put your phone on the table in landscape mode and you type like you're typing on a typewriter. Maybe that's what you do. I
Absolutely.
don't know.
Jerry would do that, absolutely. And then he can only type half a sentence at a time because that's all
Two
that can
fingers.
fit on the screen.
Half a sentence. Half a sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Chopsticks. Ding, ding, ding.
Upsticks. See?
Okay, so you're
Where
blaming
was I?
me.
You're
blaming me
Completely.
for your lack of preparation for this. Okay, I just wanted to make that.
Yes,
I just wanted
yes,
to be
I am.
clear about that
Because I can't
True.
blame Hooper because he's got a valid excuse. You don't.
He does have a valid
So
excuse. Bless him. Hooper was going to join us on this one, and it was going to be a Chat
just a
Stevie T
shout
and
out.
Hooper takeover.
takeover. So just a shout out to Hoops. Miss you, love you, buddy. And
Yeah.
I hope it all goes
Yeah,
wheels
definitely.
down
Thinking of you, man.
soon.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree with that. We all did do the thing, though. In fact, we've all got a drink for you, Hoops. Here you go. Look at that. Although I've been very
There you go,
uncivilized
yeah.
because my whiskey is in a very big glass.
Yeah.
And Jerry's got a proper glass for whiskey. It just drives me nuts.
Cheers.
Yeah, and I don't
Cheers,
have
gentlemen.
whiskey.
Monday night
Wow.
drinking. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be wise.
Monday night drinking.
Oh, I'd forgotten
You
how
call it
lovely
Monday
that
night
whiskey is.
drinking. You are an amateur. You are an amateur.
What whiskey have you got, Dom?
Drinking on a school night. I don't think I have a Jack Daniels,
the honey
but a
one's
honey
nice,
flavoured
yeah.
one.
Ooh,
It is very sweet.
that's quite sweet though.
Yeah, it's lovely. And it's triple knock to the head because not only is it alcoholic, it's also full of sugar. So you get the sugar rush, then the sugar crash, and the alcoholic
Nice.
rush, and the alcoholic crash. What do you want in life?
You are such an amateur. My
I am
God.
aware I'm an amateur. To be fair, I have a whiskey in my... Is it a whiskey? I've got a whiskey in my cupboard that isn't opened that's over 40 years old.
Wow.
Single malt whiskey.
When are you
It's
going
older than you.
It is older than me. I have no idea.
When
I
he
don't know whether
eventually
to sell
catches
it.
up
It's
to its
worth,
age.
it's worth a lot
Well,
of
you
money.
should sell it then.
No, I'm sure it is.
If you're not that fussed,
Could either sell
if
it or
you're
I
not,
might just...
that massively fussed on your whiskey, like you just enjoy good whiskey, but you're not that particular about it, you're better off selling it. If you can get like 500 quid for it. Because the person that buys it off you is not going to drink it either, are they?
Maybe.
Just going to keep hold of it.
Or
they
they can
might
enjoy
enjoy
it,
it.
and
Yeah.
more than I would enjoy it.
I don't know though, because it doesn't age in the bottle. It only ages in the barrel. It's just going to be the same as it was when it was bottled, surely.
Yeah, 40 years old. So the bottle's actually about 80 years old.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah. But if it's only going to be as good as the barrel... I don't know much about whiskey. I don't know why we're having this conversation. We know I don't drink alcohol very often.
Has it been matured in a sherry cask or burnt oak cask?
This is a sherry cask or a bourbon cask or a rum cask. The nicest whiskies are done in
go
rum
on.
casks.
Do you want me to go get the
because
bottle?
they-
No, they're gone.
Can I go get the bottle?
No,
And the
it's
bottle?
good. No, it's fine. It means he's going to get up and he's going to come back, and I can't take the piss out of him. Well, I can, but he won't be here. So,
Yeah.
You do a Samwise on me.
I mean, I can tell that the sport that you chose wasn't rugby because, I mean, when I was playing rugby, you know, I think I remember one game where we actually went out into the pitch at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon to kick off at 1:30. And we'd sort of stopped drinking at about midday because we thought that was a responsible thing to do.
Responsible.
Yeah, interesting game. Funny what adrenaline will do to you.
Yeah. To be
The
fair,
first
my
tackle
best
was nasty.
my best mate at the moment is going out with a rugby player. So she plays rugby, and he did say at the weekend when we had a ball this weekend, with a dinner this weekend that all of us were there at, and he did say to us, he said, well, last time I went into the rugby social club, they were all naked, and he looked at his partner and she went, yeah, there they were. So apparently the
Why,
rugby
it's like- I
society
don't know why
of the
it happens.
university.
I don't know why it happens. I don't know why. I mean, men of a certain age, it doesn't happen as much as it does when you're younger. But yeah, when you're younger, clothing is optional, and it does mean that some of the games that you play are quite
So you play naked? Is
interesting.
that what you're saying?
Is it a caveman instinct?
Clothing is optional in the game.
You-
That would make a scrum quite interesting, wouldn't it?
no, well, yeah. Sometimes, no, not when you're playing on
okay.
the pitch, like afterwards. when you've had like 5 boat races, and everything's feeling a little fuzzy in your head, and then suddenly somebody comes up with a bright idea, and the next thing you know,
I don't know where this is going.
Can you feel
I
the
just
tension
assumed
in
it's
the air
back to
right now?
It's how
caveman
it is.
instincts.
there's no
Cut it with a cricket stump.
It's like,
That's not the
I
quote
don't know where you're
from
going with
Talladega Nights, but yes.
in the air right now.
Can you feel tension?
You need to do a
Yeah.
disclaimer, don't you? We're already halfway through the podcast.
Well,
I know,
I
we're
was
already
going to come
having
up with a really nice disclaimer. I actually had a disclaimer in mind, but then I was writing it down and I just lost interest. So that's this AI for you. Just gets bored. It's just like, Cat Stevie T, write me a disclaimer.
I don't want to.
Just bored. Just
Do you reckon when
if you
AI
don't like
becomes...
what we say, if you don't like what we're saying, don't listen. There you go. And all of us have minds of our own, so everything we're saying is what we think, and it's nothing to do with anything or anyone else other than us, using our minds of our own. Except Jerry, he doesn't have his own mind.
I do.
He borrows one.
That's why Rachel replies to all his messages for him.
That's why she comes over once a week to reply to his messages. If you want Jerry to reply to you within a week, make sure it's before a Saturday or Sunday night, whatever day she comes over, and he
Or
responds
get your
to
people to
you
speak to
en
my
masse with
people.
everyone else. He dictates it like, yeah, she is your people.
She's definitely the people
Anyway.
that criticises him the most.
And so she...
Right, we're doing a disclaimer then.
Well,
Was he?
Steve's done the
I think I did
disclaimer.
it.
Whatever we say on this podcast is our own thing, right? It doesn't represent who
Yeah.
we
Or the
work
views
for.
of anyone, living or
Yeah.
dead.
And if you don't... Yeah.
Or the
If
views
what
of
we
anyone.
say... If what we say offends you, then... I don't know. Build a bridge, get over it.
The bridge over the River Cock.
What?
I'm aware the film was the bridge over
You
the
could build
River
that bridge
Kwai,
if you
but
like.
the Top Gear version was the big bridge over the River Cock.
And we're
Spelled
back to
C-U-C-O-Q.
I think
Jerry,
so.
are you okay?
This is definitely the most haphazard intro to a podcast ever.
Come over to your place to do it. I should have come over to your place to do the thing.
I was going to say, I have. I've moved, haven't I? So, I mean, I want to.
You
I
have
want to do
moved
more.
a while
I want
ago.
To do more. Yeah, three months.
No, it's been longer than that, isn't it?
This is only the second
Really?
podcast I've done here, though, because we did one summer camp. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I do have to say, Dom, I didn't think your hat was weird. I actually thought that it was just a hat.
So,
And, you know, I think people get way too upset about things that are not anything to do with them, and it's just a hat. And you obviously
Well-
like it, and it protects your head and neck and that massive nose, and I think that that's important.
I know these are nose jets.
Kind of flared the nostrils.
No, the interesting thing is, and it came up while I was on holiday in America, which is one of the things we're going to talk about. But to be fair, the host's wife, that when she saw the hat that I was wearing, which I was wearing the hat to the F1, she said, "It is a really ugly hat, but it is super practical and required." And I was like, that's a fair assessment. And that's what frustrates me. I don't know. I suppose that's what I don't understand about fashion, right? And I can hear Steph and Kasha going, "That's because you don't care about it." But Kasha was at the dinner that we had on Saturday as well, and she was talking about different things. She says and she was talking about fashion and stuff like that. She's like, "Jeans are fine, but get yourself some white t-shirts and not Gymshark ones and stuff like that." And I'm like, I've got two thoughts
Why?
on that. There's one, yes, I get the want to have nice clothes and to look good, and I think that's because people was, I was suited and booted, so I had like jacket, dinner jacket, waistcoat, shirt, tie, all the boots, etc. Oh, Hooper is apologising for his radio silence again, by the way, even though I've literally just messaged him and it's been an hour. So yeah, he. I mean, his message is pretty serious. He needs a bit of a pick me up. What was I saying? So when it comes to fashion, I was like, surely, like everyone goes, "Oh, don't look at looks. It's all about the personality." So surely it shouldn't matter how I dress like. People should just like me for my personality. And the fact that I wear stuff that I find either A is comfortable or B is practical should be okay. But apparently not. Apparently that's a sin. And I have some female friends that are very interested in making sure that I dress correctly because they are either fed up of me being single or I don't know.
To be honest, it's really nothing to do with them. If you're happy being you on your own, then you're happy being you on your own, and that's great.
That
if you're
is the way that I
happy
like.
wearing exactly, and if you like, and I can trust me where I am right now, I can 100% fully appreciate that, and I know Jerry can too. I think, I mean, I don't dress fashionably. I wear the same pair of jeans that I've probably been wearing for the last 4 years.
We did want to ask,
And
are you
they're
in
not-
shorts today?
I am in my pajama bottoms,
Ah, damn it. I thought it was going to be shorts.
which are shorts.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've got my leggies
I
out.
think
Look.
you just popped out.
Hang on. All my tattoos. All my tattoos.
Definitely
Christ,
just
if that
popped
popped out. That's not mine. If it popped out, it ain't mine. The blessings of the Lord didn't extend beyond my brain. So, where were we? Oh, yes. Yeah, just wear what you like. I mean, gives a shit.
My only caveat to that is Jerry is always a well-dressed man. But do you dress...
He is. It's actually quite fucking annoying.
Yeah, no, it's really annoying. He's the only person that could come into... If I came into the office in a shirt and tie like you, Jerry, I would get...
Look,
I
do get slated, by the way.
I'd be like, what job interview are you going?
Steve loses his
By
shit
who?
I take
when I
this
wear
out
a
of him.
tie. Every single time, which just
Well,
encourages
that's
me
an
to wear it
exception,
more.
right? That's
He
an
always
exception.
wears a tie when he knows I'm going to... He always wears a tie when he knows I'm going to be there because I just go...
I love seeing your reaction. Because
Dick,
every single
You're
time...
trying way too hard. Yeah.
But everyone else
Yeah.
will give you compliments.
And he always wears a lot of cologne. It's like, and it's always something like Je crois noir.
I did have a
something
conversation
like,
with one of our future guests actually about smell-o-vision today. So
Jerry, you can feel the approach. It's like
can
an
taste
Old
it in the
Spice
air.
advert.
you can bite it.
It's like an Old Spice advert. It's like he's going to ride in on a white horse. This is my horse, and it's like, oh man.
Who is the actor that's in the original Old Spice? What's his name?
I mean, you've never worn Old Spice in your life, I can bet
No.
you. Maybe when you were
I've never
18
worn
and you wanted
Old
to feel like a
Spice.
man.
No, I've never. But
Exactly.
oh, who's the
so.
actor? That's going to annoy me.
What, for Old Spice?
Old Spice dude on a horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is me
don't know.
on a horse. I can't remember. Anyway,
Didn't Terry Crews do some of them actually?
no, maybe can't remember. Don't like Old Spice.
Jerry's here to tell us that Old Spice is actually a poor choice in fragrance.
So my very first fragrance when I was in my teens, and you had to wear a fragrance when you were in your teens, was Yardley Gold. Now I don't know if
I remember
Jerry, I don't know
Yardley.
if you remember Yardley Gold, but it smelled like pure alcohol that had flowers rubbed into it a bit. It was quite pungent. One spray and you were like,
You see, we're talking about
Nose
this, and
blind
all
for a
my
week.
mind keeps going to is that scene from Anchorman.
oh yes, yeah.
60% of the time, it works every
Gentlemen.
time.
It works every time. But
It
when you're
smells like Bigfoot
16,
stick.
when you turn up at a 16, when you're 16, you turn up at a dance and you're wearing Yardley Gold. It's like a magnet. It's like the Lynx
Okay.
effect, but
To give listeners an
Stronger.
indication as to what sort of fragrance we're talking about here, the level and quality of it, you can buy a 50ml bottle from Direct Cosmetics for
they don't still
$2.99
make it, do they?
plus
They don't still make
plus
it.
£2.95
still
for
make it.
delivery. And this, they still make it.
You're
you can
joking,
still
they don't
buy
still
it,
make
and I
it, do
bet
they?
You that takes off maybe the top 3 to 4 layers of your epidermis. As you splash that on.
Oh yeah. Don't spray it anywhere near near your eyes or your body
It's
or anything like that.
£5.73
Per 100.
per 100 ml.
100 mil.
For 100 mil. You need
No,
to, you need
that's-
to
you-
buy
you
it by
can-
the.
If that accidentally splashed on your shorts, you and your neighbours would know about it.
Yeah. Do yourself a favour, listeners. Get transported back to 1986. Buy yourself a 550 milliliter Yardley
You
Gold.
can buy.
Spray it in the room and watch the fleas die.
Oh my god, I'm on Amazon and you can buy Yardley London Gold deodorizing talcum powder.
For winners. You don't want that wrapped around your balls, though.
And it comes in a 2-pack for less than 14 quid.
There you go. And there's a deodorant that goes with it too, if I remember, like a spray on.
Gold.
It's like a hand grenade.
I love this.
Why are you joking?
Like directions: apply all over body after shower for fresh fill. Safety warning: may cause irritation in case of skin contact. What? It's talcum powder. And
I love that.
Talcum powder that causes
If you
skin
end
irritation.
up with any on your skin,
yeah, you gotta love it.
wash immediately with cold water and seek medical advice.
right,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've
Yeah.
just scrolled down
That's
to the
stuff.
Amazon reviews, right? And there's an
Smells like
AI
shit.
summary. No. Customers like the talcum powder's taste with one and it makes them feel fresh. They also appreciate its lovely scent, generated from the text of customer reviews.
Taste,
The
the
smell
taste
of it.
and the texture of the
I love
yes.
Yardley Gold.
The smell of it, yes. Yeah, I love Yardley, yes. Yes. This is a keeper. I'm going to keep
smell of
this
it.
little flake for later.
taste of it.
my Christ.
The smell of it. So there you go. I urge both of you to splurge the £2.90, whatever it is, with the £2.90 delivery to get a little bottle of Yardley Gold and transport yourself back to Steve's 1986 when he was, young and
1986.
virile and with more hormones than, scent, which pretty much,
What's changed?
me until I was about 30. I got old. And then, got old and experienced. And,
Yardley Gold.
Yeah.
Yardley Gold.
where was I? Oh, yeah, Yardley Gold. There you go. It wasn't London Gold, though. It was just Yardley Gold. It was,
Yeah, I
yeah.
bet it
It
did.
cost a bit more than that back in the 80s. Actually, it probably cost about £2.95 back then, but it was worth a lot more.
£2.95
You could buy
was a
car.
lot.
You could buy a car for that.
You could buy a couple of pints.
Yeah. Better for a Christmas present as like part of a gift set.
I'm buying that
Not
for
with
Jerry
no
this
talc. No talc. Oh, I know what I'm buying
Fucking
Jerry for his
Yardley
birthday.
Gold. Don't even.
No, I'm buying you one of these for your birthday. This is a pop John Wick with a knife. He's actually got two knives. See, but he's got blood on his shirt. And I know that this is like a podcast, so if you're listening, I don't know if you know the pop
a
toys.
Funko
If you're
Pop?
listening,
Is
they've
it
got like
Funko
big
Pop?
heads and whatnot. But there's a John
Yeah.
Wick one.
Funko Pop, yeah.
Are the Funko Pops? Funko Pop, yeah. So there's got these little toys with big heads, and there's a John Wick one, and it's got two knives, and it's one in each hand, and it's got blood on his shirt over there, and it looks just like John Wick, but also it looks just like Jerry. Like if I was to design a pop for Jerry, it would look exactly like this without the
Well, you know what
knives.
they say? Guns are for show, knives are for a pro. Now that's a line from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Exactly. And I got another one. I got to get the second one, which is it's my Halloween one, which is Annabelle,
That's pretty cool.
which I think is quite creepy. So this is a little Annabelle one. If you've not seen the Annabelle movie, then yeah, creepy toys. She can sit there.
I'm just on the Funko website, and I didn't realise you can create one. We don't need to create
You
one.
can create
for
your own.
Jerry. You don't need to create one.
I did, and I
Just need to-
created one with Jerry. I created one for Jerry, and it looks exactly like John Wick. So I'm just going to get John Wick.
Yeah, we did. That's not a John Wick Funko Pop. That's a Jerry Funko Pop.
It is. It looks exactly like it.
Oh my Christ. Where are we?
I don't know. We haven't even started yet. I've just been taking up all your time. You're going to have to edit all this shit out.
No, I'm keeping it all in because we haven't got that much content today.
Whose fault is that again?
That's. Is it mine?
Look, it's no one's fault. It's no one's fault. We just didn't talk to each other.
Oh.
I think we go over to Jerry's house this weekend and we teach him how to use his phone because I think he deserves to know.
No, I might just get hold of Rachel somehow and be like, "Can you teach your dad how to use his phone?" And then she'll roll her eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I just text you?
Which I
instead of
imagine
him
is
and then you
savage,
can-
isn't it, Jerry?
Yeah.
Call each other on that.
I still remember my first
Landlines.
phone number from when I was a little child. I don't remember what happened today at work, but I remember my first phone number from
There
when
you
I
go.
was a child.
What's the number?
795-1779.
I remember my childhood home phone number. I'm not going to read it out because I don't want people phoning it because I think it's probably still connected to the people that
It's
now
probably
live there.
still there. It's probably.
Why do we
Do
do
people
this
still
live
have,
on air?
like,
Why don't we
They
just
will
call
do,
it
'cause-
live? Let's do it.
Let's not and say we
Do it.
didn't.
Well, it's like
Oh
doorbell
my
ditching,
god,
but
that
phone
would be so
version.
much fun. I bet you it just goes. This line has been disconnected because it's the 2020s.
No, because the people that bought my parents' house were older than my parents, so I'd imagine they still.
Well, they're
want the
probably dead
landline.
and they've sold it onto somebody else. So,
Dear.
if I could find a number for like a phone booth that still works, we should phone that and see who answers.
I wonder how many there
Except
are.
I don't know how to do that.
Number of payphones in the UK.
How many? Okay, so let's have a sweepstake. How many payphones, Jerry, do you think there are in the
None.
UK that still work?
Yeah,
I think
still
I think,
work.
I think there are a couple of. I'm going to go with 100 that still operate because there'll be little ones in the middle
What,
of
that
nowhere
you have
that
to put
still
coins
are connected,
into?
right? No, Dom, you've looked it up.
I'm looking
What is
at.
the
I've looked
answer?
it up, and I can give you the answer as of. I can give it as of 2023.
2023. Who doesn't update this stuff? Come on, it's important. Phone the post office right now and find out.
Well, it wouldn't be the post office. It would be BT.
Sorry.
There. Oh, bye, Jerry.
Yeah.
What happened to
What
Jerry?
happened there? Did I
We insulted him
annoy
too
him?
much.
Do you think? Did I annoy him?
I'll ring him in a second.
Because if
there
so,
are
that's
around-
pretty awesome.
There are around 20,000 remaining working payphones across the UK. 3,000 of which are the traditional.
20,000.
The traditional red kiosks. Because
20,000?
2024 was the 100th year. But they are being
20,000.
changed into defib things.
Yeah, defib stations. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we need to
Although-
phone Jerry?
I don't know. Probably he's not going to answer his phone there because Rachel's not there.
No, that's the thing. He's well. I was about to say he's pretty good, but
While you're doing that, and you're going to edit this out anyway, with a tactical tinkle. See you in a sec.
Right, that's weird. It says we're having issues reaching out. This message doesn't even make sense. Unable to connect. We're having issues reaching out our server. Please verify your internet connection is stable and that you don't have any firewall or VPN blocking the connection to Riverside. Now, funnily enough, that happened literally just before I joined, the first time I tried to join.
oh really?
Yeah.
What computer are you on?
My usual computer, and I restarted it as well.
Just join back.
Yeah, I'm just redialing in. But it says it stopped recording.
That's okay. Yeah, you're not in at the moment, so it's stopped recording.
He's still not back.
He's still not back. He's on the phone. If
I
you
feel
can
like
hear him.
I feel like I'm taking over. I need to step back a little. Just
No, you don't.
Right.
no. Oh, he's back.
I'm going to hang up now.
What the hell, dude? Did I offend you in some
that's
way?
the second. No, that's the second time I've been booted out. That's really weird.
Did I offend you in some way? Because if so, can you tell me what it was so I can do it again?
It was
That's
the
all
phone
right.
thing. It was the whole thing about phones.
So we worked it out. Dom said it was 20,000 phone booths in the UK left, but they're being converted into defibrillation stations.
Yeah, there's none working. There are no
But
working.
phone booths
Yeah,
with phones in, yeah.
Yeah.
operational
yeah.
phone booths.
Yeah.
20,000.
20,000.
Crazy, man.
I don't know why you said it like that, but that kind of emphasised the point.
20,000.
Wow.
I've never used one.
What, a phone booth?
No.
What?
Oh, I've made so many drunk calls from them.
Nope, I have never used a phone booth.
I think you need to find one of those 20,000 operational phone booths and make a call from it.
Yeah, but just make sure it's actually not a defibrillator, and you stick the paddle to your ear and your mouth, and light yourself up.
It's okay. I'm first aid trained. I know that defibs won't do that. They're very safe. They're very safe. Unfortunately.
When I was a medic in the army, we obviously used to have a lot of fun with them. And sort of a rite of passage that you would find somebody a wheelchair, and they'd have to sit with their hands stretched out in front of them, and you put the paddles one in each hand and charge it up, and then like power through them, see how far back the wheelchair would go.
As you do.
As you do.
Because health and safety was a thing back then.
I'm glad.
I'm assuming this wasn't in the UK.
Seriously.
I took my medical training very seriously. Actually, we can, as part of our thing tonight, I can read you some excerpts from Grey's Anatomy.
That would be.
You
good.
can see just how dull it really is.
Grey's Anatomy. Oh yeah, that's an American TV program. About medical. Boring.
Oh, I have a real Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, not the
Here it
TV
is.
program, the actual book.
No,
the actual.
the actual Grey's Anatomy.
Oh.
It's very dull. It's
Well, it's
very
hard-
much a knee bone connected to the thigh bone connected to the shoulder bone. Yeah, that's how it works, right?
Yes, it is, because I'm medically trained, so I
Yeah.
can verify that.
You can verify that. To be honest, though, military medical guys, because I had previous medical training, I was slightly ahead of them. I mean, there were guys who were literally there, and the lecturer would be saying, "So don't forget there are two legs." And they'd be writing this down, going, "This feels like it's going to be important later."
To be fair, as an army medical person, yes.
Holy shit! Holy shit!
But interestingly, the average number of legs in the world is below 2.
Well, obviously, because as soon as one person doesn't have two legs, that number goes below 2, average.
Yeah,
Even if
I
it's
don't
by
think
a
that's
very small
balanced out by
fraction.
people with more than 2 legs.
There aren't many
Exactly.
people, any people I'd imagine with more than 2 legs.
There
Or
are.
many, at
I
least.
saw. Yeah, I think some people are born with multiple limbs, aren't they?
Either that or something
two,
else is very
normally.
impressive.
You know what I mean? More than 2. Have we started yet? Is
Yeah,
this
we've
kind
been
of like
recording
still the
for
tail
like
end of the
40
intro?
minutes.
I just feel like you're going to be scrubbing most of this.
Nope.
Gonna just go,
These are the best
are
conversations.
we
is when
that
it's-
short of Are we that short of content? Okay.
I think we
We'll
lost
find out
our
in a minute.
audience about 36 minutes ago.
Yeah. They're both all sitting there going, "What the fuck?" I mean, yeah, that's what I mean.
You all just lost the game. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Where's my phone? I'm going
Just
to
had
text
get that in
Swanee.
there.
Oh dear. Right, so what was the first topic you wanted to talk about as we are 39 minutes and 30 seconds into the podcast? God, I really hope you edit this shit out. We're going to edit the portion where Jerry wasn't in now,
No,
which means that you're going to edit this out, otherwise it's not going to make any sense because that bit that he wasn't
keeping
in
it in.
won't be there. And then no one's going to know, wait, he wasn't there for a bit? I don't understand.
No, I'm keeping it in.
God.
That's the way that it works.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway,
What are
so
you
the
drinking
topic of
anyway?
event that we want to
Yardley
discuss
Gold?
first.
Sorry, yes.
We got to leave Yardley Gold in there.
Yeah.
Is the reason why we have such a disorganised podcast this month is because both me and Jerry have been away this October at different times. So the chance to actually...
bragging.
Have you not been away this year, Steve?
I have.
You went to Belgium, didn't you?
I went to Belgium.
Oh,
Which
tell
is
us
far
about
less
that.
glamorous than Rome or New York or wherever you went.
I went to Texas. It's not glamorous
Texas,
at all.
same thing. Same
Same
place.
thing. Like
Texas is
same
the
thing.
same.
my
Actually, no,
New
team-
York.
I've been to both places, and they are like different countries.
Tell us about Belgium then. Because you didn't go
Flat.
with your
Actually, it's not flat. It's where
Belgium
I went
isn't.
was the prettiest part of Belgium, which is the Ardennes. And I went there because a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, I feel like I'm in the movies, a very close friend of mine. And that's a weird story, but I won't cover that now because it's a weird story. So it's 2025 this year, so we'll make sure of that. And I wanted to go over there for the Battle of the Bulge, which happened at Christmas time in 1944, leading up to 1945. And obviously it's very cold in Belgium at that time, so I decided I'm not doing that in December. So I went in May, which coincided with the signing of was actually the same day as the signing of the surrender of Germany. It was early May. So it was lovely. I mean, the Ardennes is stunning. I sent you both pictures from Spa-Francorchamps. We actually drove down one of the roads that made up the old circuit, which is it's gorgeous. I would happily go back there again and
you biked.
We saw where the
Did you bike?
No, I got the train. I got the train. So I got the Eurostar to Brussels, and then I got a train to Rolspleis, which is in Eupen. So there's a German-speaking part of Belgium. I don't know if you know this. Is the French and the Walloon. Sorry, the French other one. French and Flemish. French and Flemish, which is Dutch parts of Belgium. But there's a sliver down the east side of Belgium, which is German. And it's because they used to be part of Germany. After World War I, it was ceded to Belgium, etc. So, very big German-speaking area. Rolf speaks German. He speaks about 4 languages. It's embarrassing. And
we're really shit as the UK at learning other languages.
Oh, truth. Do you speak any languages other than English?
No.
Either of you?
I can speak a bit of Armenian and a bit of French, and that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can speak a little bit of Dutch because I could speak Afrikaans, but it sounds like...
there you go.
Apparently it sounds like I'm a child.
Well. Yeah, but
I can speak a little bit of Zulu. I speak a little bit of Zulu.
When you're
not really enough to put a coherent sentence together. I can shout at my dogs in Zulu. That's about it.
I've heard you shouting.
Can they speak Zulu? Can they speak Zulu? That's the question.
They're fluent in Zulu, absolutely.
They're more fluent than Steve.
Yes, that's true.
But they're fluent in ignoring Steve. That's the difference.
Fluent in ignoring me. Funny how many people are, actually. Funny how many people are. So, you went to Rome, Jerry, because you went first. Yes?
I did.
Yes.
And you went in Rome.
Did you do as the Romans do?
I did. And then there were 2 things that I went there for. One, I wanted to find out what the Romans ever did for us.
Did you find out? Did you find an aqueduct?
I did. There was another reason why I wanted to go to Rome, because I wanted to see if the Pope actually shits in the woods, and I did finally get an answer to that. And that was the only reason why I went.
Which is
yes. I actually saw him.
I don't think
with
that's
a newspaper,
expression.
a rolled up newspaper tucked under his arm, and some bog roll, and he was making his way into the woods.
I know it's such a good joke about the Pope, but I don't want to get you guys cancelled, so let's not do that.
So Rome was amazing, beautiful city. The history there is just mind blowing, because all of the architecture, the things that you're looking at, are thousands of years old. A lot of what you're looking at is thousands of years old, and some of the most breathtaking buildings and artwork I've ever come across in my life. So, if you haven't been to Rome, highly recommend it. I could bore you with all the details, but I won't.
That's why we have a podcast, Jerry. It's for you to bore us with all the details.
Right. Well, where do I start?
Question.
I have a sheet of paper.
So I have an honest question. Did you feel safe?
Oh,
because I've
completely.
spoken to people who I felt like, they go, oh, there are lots of pickpockets and stuff. But I think it's because they're of a certain age and a certain disposition where they probably wouldn't feel safe walking out their front door.
So you
Inability to have any observation skills whatsoever.
Yes,
yeah,
more or less.
you have to. Yeah, you have to make sure that you have to actually make sure that you are being super careful. You have to take precautions, and in fact, I did catch a pickpocket trying to. So Rachel and I were actually outside this restaurant. One night we were going to have dinner, and this guy, and there was another family there that were queuing with us, and we were waiting for a table, and this guy rocked up, and he was very, very clever in the way that he did it, but the way that he joined the group, he joined as if, so from my perspective and the perspective of other people, that he was part of this family, but without the family really being aware. And I could see him shifting towards Rachel, and I got her to step back. I said, stand with your back to the wall, and I went and stood next to her, because this guy was like edging closer and closer, but he could see that I'd clocked him, and I was looking at him as if to say, I know what you're doing, mate. And I thought, I wonder if I'll actually get to try out any of my Aikido, because I'd actually already planned out the move I was going to make if I saw him reaching towards Rachel's bag. And unfortunately, he didn't, which is a shame.
That is a shame.
Yeah.
Do you think if you used your Aikido now, you'd put your hip out or your back or your
No,
neck?
it's
Or
not that
all
kind
three
of
of those.
No, it's not that kind of a move. You wouldn't. I would actually barely have to move, but he'd probably end up with either a severely sprained or potentially fractured wrist. So,
Ooh, I like it.
it's a shame. It is a shame.
It is a shame.
So yeah. But did I feel unsafe at any point? No. One thing I will say about Rome, the amount of the police presence in Rome, was incredible. So literally saw hundreds and hundreds of police out on patrol, in cars, on foot, on bikes, motorbikes. They were everywhere. Police were everywhere. So I think I would go so far as to say I felt safer in Rome than I ever have done, for example, in Paris. And then, let's not even go down the route of London. I mean,
Paris is such a disappointment.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's not the Paris that of the 80s and 90s that I know well.
No, I mean, the first time I went to Paris was the early 2000s. Changed a lot.
It has changed a lot. So I can highly recommend Rome. I mean, we did all of your standard stuff, which is like we went to the Vatican. We saw the Sistine Chapel. We went to the Vatican Museums.
Beautiful,
we
apparently.
did St. Peter's Basilica. We went to the Trevi Fountain. We went to the Borghese Gallery, where you've got all of the Bernini sculptures. I mean, everything out there was just breathtaking. So every night, Rachel and I would go back to the Airbnb that we were staying in, and we would just sort of sit there and just go, wow, like reflect on the day and just go, what, can you believe what we just saw?
You had to eat humble pie.
Yeah, because I really wasn't
Why?
that fussed on going, because I thought if I'm going to Italy, I want to go to somewhere like Tuscany. There are lots of rural places in Italy that I wanted to go to. And Rome was never on my list. I thought, everyone does Rome, and it's just the capital city, and how great can it be? But I definitely, I take it back. It was incredible. It's the greatest city I've ever been to.
That's a bold claim.
Yeah, really. I mean, I'm sure there are other cities out there equally as good, possibly even better, but I haven't been. And I've been to a few cities. The Rome was absolutely incredible. We did St. Ignatius Church, and we did the Colosseum, Palatine Hill, Roman Forum, all of that. I mean, it just blows you away. And we did the guided tours as well, which really brought everything to life. So you learn all about the history, and you're not just looking at a stone, or you're not just looking at a monument. You know, you're actually learning about that and the history behind it. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. I'd go back in a heartbeat. Rome was fantastic. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
I mean, like,
Cool.
it was incredible. How many photos did you take in the end?
500 and just under 600, I think, in the end. Yeah, it was, and some of the photos just incredible. Yeah.
I always forget to take photos.
Why?
I'm not
weird,
very good
You
at
need
that.
to capture your.
No, I always forget, and I'm like so caught up in the moment. And when I was with Rolf, and I was like, he was like, "Oh, you're going to take photos?" And I was like, and I was just about to, because I'm so used to having an SLR. I was like, "Oh, I didn't bring my camera. My camera's busted." And he went, "Oh, but on your phone." And I was like, "Oh yes, the phone has a camera on it." So yeah, I mean, it was lovely. But Rome, yeah. I hear what you say about the countryside though, because I've been to Tuscany.
Yeah, I haven't done
beautiful.
Tuscany. I really want to go to Tuscany, and I haven't been. But I've seen photos from people that have been there, and you know, if you just Google Tuscany, you'll see how beautiful it is. So Rome wasn't number one on my list, but I mean, what an experience! It was fantastic.
Going back to the photos things, obviously, where I'm doing the weekly waffles, for those that listen to the podcast, you'll know what the weekly waffle is. I tend to take videos now rather than photos, because I'm really bad at capturing the photos. I'm like, if I take a video, then it's going to capture the photo at some point in that I wanted, etc., etc., etc. Right? And I think it gives a better impression of what I've done, bits and pieces, especially more when I'm at home, when I've done some DIY stuff. But I also forget, and it's only with doing the weekly waffles that I've started to capture a few more things. But I realise I don't keep them, because I'm never going to look back at the photos. I just have the memories. So it's just maybe the way it is. I think my dad took over 1,000 photos when we were out in the USA. So he can definitely attest to what it's like to that. He has a proper camera though.
Did it
Yeah.
live up to your expectations, Don? What was the States like? Because I know you
So-
didn't just go out for the F1, and you
Yeah.
kind of know what you're going to expect with the F1, right?
Yes. Well,
Was that
interesting.
Dallas? Was that
Austin.
Austin? Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
went. So to set some context behind this, my dad has an ex-work colleague. So my dad is retired, and one of his work colleagues that he worked with in the last job lives out in Austin, Texas. He has 80 acres and I say it's a ranch. It's like a custom-built house. It's actually not that much bigger than my place. It was only a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom thing, so not actually like that massive, big open plan like living room thing. And it was a bungalow as well, so it didn't have an upstairs. And he lives 35 minutes away from the F1 circuit. So my dad has been invited out to go out there. My mum doesn't travel, so he was like, you know, I'm looking for someone to travel with me. And after us doing Iceland last year, we were like, well, let's travel out there. And I was like, yeah, I've been to America, but I've not done that bit of America. I've been to Florida, but not been to Texas. So I was like, fine. Which meant that we had like free accommodation, free kind of car rental, because we borrowed one of his vehicles. I'm not going to say it was a car, because it wasn't a car. And we had and that. So we only had to get ourselves over there and pay for the F1 tickets. So like that helps with the feelings. like America in itself, I like it or loathe it. I've got a lot to loathe about America, but I decided I'm just going to enjoy it as a tourist and really go out there. And honestly, it was bloody brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic. Right, you can't really did it top Iceland or the Maldives from last year? Maybe not. But but that's like saying which of your children is your favourite, or it's, if you know what I mean. Like then you can't really compare them.
Yeah,
I don't have children. You probably have a favourite child.
Rachel.
You got one child, so yeah, definitely got a favourite.
So and then because we weren't paying for hotel costs, which would have been extortionate because it was the F1 weekend, we splurged a little bit on other bits and pieces. So we flew one down from first class, so we didn't have a bed. We had normal chairs, but in economy, you normally have a 3-4-3 layout, right, for the chairs. In the one that we were in, which is like, they call it premium economy sometimes, or sometimes they call it like pre-business, something stupid like that. So it was a 2-3-2 layout in the same amount of space, so the chairs were bigger, stuff like that. So we splashed out for that, which made sense, because then we had a 2-seat section, so it was just me and my dad, so nobody was disturbing us, etc., etc., etc. So that was really nice. Watched 4 movies on the way over. 3 new ones, which I'll go into the movie reviews later on. And then so we did we did a proper American adventure. So we got there, it was about 40 minutes from Bergstrom Airport. Did not have the queues like we did. Coolest thing ever, actually. The coolest thing ever of the whole trip was being sat in London Heathrow Airport just outside the gates, and they start calling like groups, and because it's got like first class, premium economy, etc., they've got groups to call on. So we're group 3. They crawl out group 1, and freaking James Vowles, the team principal for Williams, walks through the airport. And it was, you get that surreal moment where you just turn. I just literally just turned, and my dad was sitting to my left. And I looked up, and I was like, "That's James Vowles." What? And the wife.
Did your dad say? I wonder where he's going.
Yes, he did, actually, because that's the type of man he is.
Because that's the kind of thing I would say, right?
Yeah,
That'd be the ultimate dad joke.
Yeah. He was like, "I wonder where he's going." I was like,
"I wonder where he's going."
But there was a couple in front of us, and the wife was like going, "It's James Vowles! It's James Vowles! It's James." I'm like, "Yes," like I'm sure we all noticed that. But that was that's a cool thing to do. Like,
just be cool.
And the team, for those that don't know, is the team principal for the Williams F1 team. So yeah, I mean that's a cool.
I like him.
I like James Vowles. Out of all of there's a hierarchy of team principals that I quite like, and James Vowles is probably my favourite. I quite like Total Wolff.
He seems like such a massive nerd. He seems like he is a massive nerd. But I don't follow Formula One because it's just so dull. But I do love the Drive to Survive. I love that show. I'm addicted to it, and you can catch up on the whole year in 5 episodes or whatever it is. But he comes across as just being nice.
He's a nice
team
guy.
Team principals that you sort of normally see are just absolute tools. But he's just such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Maybe he is an absolute dick when you kind of get to know him. If he calls you into his office, you're going to get your ass kicked. But he's so nice.
I'd imagine at that sort of level, and what I've learned from interacting with like leadership teams in our company and other places. Well, our company's probably feels a bit of exception. You need both sides. You need the ability to be nice to give morale, but actually, if somebody needs an ass kicking, you should be able to deliver that ass kicking. So yeah, that was just a cool bit of trivia that was there. So we got picked up, went from Bergstrom. None of the queues. Yes, he's probably a little like an inch or two shorter than me, but not much more.
Everybody is.
Most people are, yes, true.
If Jerry was on my shoulders,
other than Jerry, he's a foot shorter than me.
Shorter than you. If Jerry was on my shoulders, we'd be.
I'm not that.
Be like
tall,
wearing
yes.
wearing like a coat. Like would be like, are you two people? And we go, no, trying to be taller than Dom, but failing.
Well, like mini me.
Maybe, yeah.
None of the queues like I had in JFK. Mainly because we were the only international flight that landed, so it was just flight lands and the only queue was our team, and they didn't do what the other group did. They kept all the booths open, so although there was only 3, we went through fairly quickly and comfortably. They drove to Bergstrom to our place. So what I will do as part of this podcast, because I have all the footage, I will input footage as part of that. So Jerry and Steve won't see it now. I've already recorded a half-an-hour YouTube video, which I put as a weekly waffle. But we didn't actually stay in the ranch. Like, Matt had a... I'm going to call it a caravan, but it's an American caravan, so it's, like, massive.
You need an Airstream.
No.
Was that brown?
No, it wasn't an
Quite
Airstream.
big brown...
Yeah, it was more like...
Yeah.
It was... Like, you know those houses that you see being transported on UK roads that are normally cut in half?
Mobile homes.
Mobile homes.
Wow.
It was more like a small one of those rather than a big caravan,
Yeah,
if
it's
that
huge.
makes sense.
Yeah, it's huge.
It was big enough to have a double bed and for me to have an air bed and for you to still be able to get round with a fridge and an oven, and a hob and a microwave and a sink and a full bathroom where I could go have my elbows out and still have a shower. So yeah, it was big.
That's one thing I don't miss about driving up the A35. The A35 is the most narrow road in the UK, but it's not the widest. And you get like a little village of mobile homes coming past you, like 8 o'clock in the morning, trying to get to work. Oh man! And you could just see the little van in the front with the orange flashing lights, abnormal load. And then there's just like 20 mobile homes coming past you, like
Yeah.
They'd almost take the top of your car off. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or no, you have to be like this in the bushes, like this, going down the side of the road as you try to avoid them. Shit.
Around.
So that was the Wednesday we arrived. On the Thursday, we kind of got ourselves, kind of just settled. We borrowed a vehicle from Matt. We borrowed it's called a Toyota Sequoia. And they don't sell it in the UK because it's too big. So basically, a Toyota Sequoia is
I've been in one.
Yeah, it's basically it's bigger than a Land Cruiser.
It's wider than it's a bit like a Hummer. It's about as wide as a Hummer.
Yeah, it's an SUV.
But it's not it's an SUV. It's not as brutal as a Hummer. It's more like it looks like a car. Because, everything's kind of enclosed and whatnot. But you do have to step up into it.
Yes.
And it's really, really wide.
Yeah, it's got big grab handles to get. So you have to hold the grab handles to get. And my dad was like, for the first 5 minutes, he's like, how the hell do I get into this thing? I can't. It's a step up, like to kind of get up.
It's a step. Yeah. No, I've been in one. They are enormous.
So that was what I drove around America. And it was a 20-year-old one, which still had cruise control and really good air conditioning, which I was very thankful for. And all of that.
The V8.
Yeah, it was a V8.
Was it the V8? Yeah. So
it was a proper
those
V8 as well.
engines. Those V8 engines outlive the bodies. What people do is they rip the engines out and they put them into other vehicles.
Yeah.
Because they're a Toyota engine, they produce more horsepower than the American V8s.
Yes.
So they swap them out.
Yeah. So this one had 200,000 miles on it, and it was running like a dream. Right, it was lovely to drive.
On the original heads, on the original gaskets.
The only thing that had been changed was belts and oil.
Yeah, and the clutch.
That was it.
That's mad.
No, it's an automatic.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, my Toyota, I had 125,000 miles on it with the same clutch.
Yeah. Same gearbox, all of that. It was a really nice. It was quite a nice car, but because it was because they lived on this giant ranch, it was also the car that they took down all the track roads around the ranch, so it was scratched with all the bits and pieces, and the bumpers weren't the original because the car was black and the bumpers were silver. But that's the only clue that you could have. And he was like, if you ding it, it doesn't matter. If somebody runs into you, you're going to be okay because it's bulletproof, but it also doesn't matter. So it was wonderful for getting in and out of the circuit when all of the Americans were trying to selfishly nudge in, and there was all these Corvettes and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I just don't care because this isn't my car, and it doesn't matter if I ding it. So I stuck my nose out in this battered old Toyota V8, and they were like, okay, I'm not going to mess with you. There was one M3 that thought about it, and I thought, buddy, if you come out in front of me, I'm just going to go over you. Oh, and he also had extra thick tires, right? So it was slightly lifted as well. It was nuts. I'll put a photo. There's a photo of me stood by it. The bonnet, not the hood, the bonnet came up to here on me when I'm stood up. Came up to my chest. So that just proves how big it was. It was great car. Really appreciate having that.
It's either a 4.7 or a 5 litre V8. I can't remember which. I think it's a 4.7 litre V8. They are. Yeah.
I'm just going to have a look now.
I need to look it up. Let me look it up.
4.7.
4.7, yeah.
Well, actually, let's look at was it a first generation? It was a second.
Yeah. So the 2006 version would have been 273
horsepower. No, it's an 04.
04, so that would have been the 240 horsepower.
Yeah,
so 240 horsepower thereabouts. However, it does weigh a little.
Yes. Oh, it wasn't the quickest thing, but it wasn't slow. It's not.
No, they're not slow.
Yeah.
I think they only went to 5-speed auto in 2005.
Yeah, I don't know how many speeds.
Yeah, no, they are fab.
Oh, this had a 5-speed, so maybe it was an 05 model. Definitely had 5 speeds. Anyway, so on that Thursday, that's when I did my first drive around the US. Pretty easy to drive around the US. Texas is a turn right on red state, so that was interesting to get. And it's just a giveaway sign. They don't have very good road safety compared to the UK, you realise, because some of their stop lines were about 45 metres from the actual junction. So you'd stop at the stop line and then you'd have to roll forward for about 4 minutes, and then you might be able to see left and right to be able to actually pull out the junction. But it's fine, right? It just wasn't designed logically. But it was Matt lived in a real rural place, and he lived on the correct side of Austin. So to get to the circuit, we didn't need to go near Austin. It was literally get on the 130 toll road, which he had a toll badge for us, zoom down it, come off. So yeah, Thursday we did that. I also rode dirt bikes for the first time ever, which was good fun. Never ridden a motorbike. It was fairly easy. The bike that and I'll put in some clips of me on the bike, but the bike that I was on was you could basically you basically put it into second gear, and it had so much torque that you just went in second gear, and then you could just poodle around with no throttle in second gear type thing. Or I did manage to get it into third, which is the only other gear it had. And I kind of very quickly decided that motorbikes weren't quite for me, because I only had about 3 hours I think on this bike in the end, over the whole week. But it was good to kind of do that. Note to self: don't wear shoes that have shoelaces on. That's not a good idea on a motorbike. I kept getting it caught on the Kickstarter, and a bike. I mean, Steve will know this because he rides, but a bike's basically the opposite of a car. Right, clutch with your foot, choose your gear with your hand, and a bike is clutch with your hand, choose the gear with your foot. Yeah. I still couldn't quite
one down, 2 up, 3 up.
Yeah,
4 up.
One down, half up is neutral, and then all the way up is 2 and 3. Matt's other dirt bike was the other way round. It was 1 up and then 2 was down.
That sounds like an early Honda.
Yes, it was a Honda.
Mate of mine used to have one of those. There was one up and then 4 down. And I used to find that so confusing. I used to put it straight into second, and then I was like, back up into first, and it would fall on my face, basically.
Yeah. I did do that. I didn't fall off, so that's good. Did end up with a few scratches because I just had shorts on and kept driving through the bushes, and some of the bushes had like thorns like this big. They were really quite painful when I was like, ow, bastards. So that was good. He also had a quad bike, which I didn't go on. So later on in the week, we did the full circuit around his thing, which was 2.6 miles or just over 3.5k. And I took the bike all the way around, and my dad was on the quad bike. So, which my dad really enjoyed the quad bike. If some of the gaps were a little bit thin for the quad bike, so he kept getting whacked by bushes. But what can you do? Right, it is what it is. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we had the F1. It was a sprint weekend. I'm not going to bore everybody with too much into depth of the F1. But basically, sprint weekend means that you have one free practice. Then you do qualifying for the sprint on the Friday. Then on the Saturday, you do the sprint race, which is 100 kilometers or about a third of a race. And it's only 8 points for a win. And it just increments by one down to for the top 8. Then you do the normal qualifying for the race on the Saturday afternoon, and then on the Sunday you have the main race, which is normally timed at about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it's a 300 kilometer race and 2 hour time limit, one mandatory pit stop. So that was good. Interestingly, Jerry, you asked me, Jerry, what I thought. I'd actually say that out of all the stuff that I did in America, I'd say the F1 was the most disappointing thing. But
Really?
It would have been most disappointing whether I was there or not. So it was a bit of a damp squid of a race. Right, not a lot happened. We also didn't choose our seats quite as well as I would have liked. So our seats were on turn 19, so turn 18 is a long right hand, fast speed corner, and then it's a short left hand but high speed corner. So it's not a heavy braking zone, so there's not a lot of action and stuff like that. And it was normally like turn 20, which is the last one, which goes on to the main start finish straight. Most people want to be behind at that point so they can use the DRS to climb up the hill to turn 1. We could see turn 1, but you were far away from it. But also our grandstand was east facing, so the sun set in front of us. So even though we were in a sheltered grandstand, the sun was on us by about 2 p.m. And it was 34 degrees. So Friday was okay because
Texas is hot.
Yeah. The Texas have just had the hottest October on record, full stop. Now, admittedly, America only has about 3 years of records, but it was the hottest on record ever.
Records going back to the last week.
Yeah. But it was really good entertainment. It was such a good atmosphere, and what I love about going to events like that is the people that you speak to want to be there as well. Even though, I say that, I think about half the Americans were a bit like, hang on a minute, they're turning left, not right. And what is this track limit? And why is this person? And even my dad was like, well, hang on a minute, is that George Russell? No, Dad, that's the yellow T-cam, therefore that's Kimi Antonelli. I've told you that 4 laps in a row. It's fine. Like, I was kind of in my element as an F1 fan to be able to explain this to people, like, what are track limits, what are this? But yeah, so the Friday it was okay. The Saturday was hot, but we had the wind in our face. And then on Sunday, the wind did a 180, so it was behind us and it never came through the grandstand. So even though it was a lot cooler, I say a lot cooler, 29 degrees, even by the end of it, was like, okay, I am hot. I'm just like, as if you're going to lie out on the beach, like spread eagled. I'm just hot. No breeze, nothing. But it was good. And they had a Porsche supporting race, which were very, very loud, which was, again, good fun. And they had a lot more action, actually, at our corner. And the qualifying was good. So, yeah, it was just a good atmosphere. It was just a shame it was a bit of a damp squid of a race. but it would have been like that whether I watched it at home or whether I watched it at the circuit. So can't do that. And I've now got Emma sort of in my head. She roared with laughter when she heard me say damp squid.
Yep.
And then the rest of the week. So
I do need to step out, otherwise I'm going to have an accident. But I will be back in just a second.
You've been 3 times, Steve.
I'm 55, dude. I have a prostate the size of a doll's head.
So we can carry on chatting because we're going to keep this
Yeah,
in
of
anyway,
course.
aren't we?
Yeah.
Who were the top 3 then? How did the?
Oh God, I can't remember what the
Who
Austin
were the 3
race is.
finishes?
Who won? It was it a Verstappen win? Yeah, Verstappen. Yeah, Verstappen, Lando, Charles Leclerc, Lewis, Oscar were the main race.
Right.
And the sprint was Verstappen. Yeah, Verstappen. Oh yes, because there was a crash with the McLarens crashed into each other. Well, actually, Nico Hülkenberg crashed into Oscar Piastri, who crashed into Lando Norris. So, yeah.
Dom, you've already explained this about a sprint race, which is what? Just an opportunity to get a few extra points.
Yes,
because it can mix things up in a season.
Well,
that's literally the only reason why they do it.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
Right? But it's still quite a lot. I mean, sprint doesn't make it sound like it's you said it's 100 kilometres, is that right?
100 kilometres. It's about the main race. The main race is so Brazil is a sprint race. The main race for Brazil is 72 laps because it's about a minute 15 for a race lap at Brazil, which is, by the way, Interlagos, Brazil is probably one of the best circuits in the world. But a sprint race is probably 20 laps. So it's not a lot. It really is a significant amount.
20. Yeah, okay.
I think it's 23 laps for Interlagos. Austin was 62 laps and was 19 laps for the sprint. So it's about a third. But the difference is your car can be stronger at different circuits. So let's just take the current F1 season. The McLaren have really good tyre wear. So in a race where there's a mandatory pit stop, like in the normal race, which is one mandatory, you have to use 2 tyre compounds if it's a dry race. The McLarens tend to do 1 stop, but there may be some other teams that burn through their tyres quicker just through the nature of their car, and they may have to do 2 stops, and so they've got to make up 22 seconds on the McLaren, which is about the average time for a pit stop. If you then look at things like the how to phrase it, like the sprint race, teams can do something a little bit different. They can be like, well, we burn through our tyres, so fuck it. We'll put on a medium set of compounds, but we don't need to do a pit stop, so we can just go hammer for nail for 19 laps. But you only get 8 points. So the championship leader is like, well, if I'm in second, do I want to dive bomb first and risk breaking the car with the race still to go on Sunday? Or, and then maybe one of the other teams will be like, do you know what? I will dive bomb because fuck it, right? We're going to probably get 0 points in the main race and this race unless I do something clever. Yeah. So, and it's just to give more action for the fans because, like, a normal race weekend, otherwise you only get action on a Saturday and a Sunday, and the turnout for a Friday is really low. Whereas this, you've got sprint qualifying on the Friday, but also it reduces the practice time, so you only get 1 practice session at an hour. So the other, you kind of come into it and you're like, well, I've only had 1 hour to set up the car. If I fuck up setting up the car, I'm screwed for the whole weekend. So, and you can change. You didn't used to be able to, but they changed it last year. You can change the car from the sprint to the race. You didn't used to be able to. People were like, well, hang on a minute. If I fucked up the car in the sprint and I can't change it, then what's the point of me rocking up for the race because I know I've screwed up the car. So they allowed the change, but you can't change it between the qualifying, the sprint qualifying, and the sprint, and the qualifying and the race. So those two are still locked. So it's clever and it's entertaining and it's good fun. So yeah,
nice.
And then Monday was our big day. So we did more dirt bikes. We walked around the entire ranch. We went to Walmart. So I've been to I went to Walmart about 3 times. So we've been to a really good Walmart. But the biggest highlight, we went to I forget the name of the small village, but we went to a place called Black's, which is just on which is the other side of the circuit. So it was about a 40-minute drive from where we were staying, and that was how to phrase it. So it was a barbecue place. It was like plastic chairs and like plastic garden chairs and plastic kind of table coverings and stuff like that, but when I say this barbecue, the food in this barbecue was not just the best tasting barbecue food that I've ever had. I reckon it was the best tasting food I've ever had. Hands down. 100%.
America redeemed itself because you weren't that impressed with Florida, were you? Because you're like,
no, Florida food was shit.
Okay.
Texas barbecue, this barbecue, the brisket that I had was just melt in your mouth. The right balance between fat and the flavors and just the way that it all melded together. The sausage that I had was just was just so tasty. I can't explain it. I would happily go back to that part of the world and go to that restaurant. Absolutely incredible. Hands down, the best thing I've ever tasted. Yeah, just amazing. And then that's when we then did things like we did some more dirt bikes. We walked around the place, and then on Tuesday we did the very American thing. And my dad's work colleague Matt owns a lot of guns, so we shot a Colt 1911. So. For those that don't know, the pistols,
Classic.
the Colt pistols are the year that came out. So it was a World War I weapon, which again, I'll put input videos of me and my dad doing it to kind of go through it, which again was just great fun. Really enjoyed that.
Pound, isn't it? 1911.
No, it's a 9mm.
No, the 1911 is 45, isn't it?
It might be a 45.
Right. Yeah. The one I fired is 45.
Yeah, but it was good. I mean, it was again, that was good. Then we fired a Winchester, so a proper kind of Western with so you had it's got you slot your hand in, you pull that back, and then kind of and then pull it back to reload it.
Lever action load, isn't it?
Yeah, proper lever action load. Which my dad really insisted on getting a photo because my auntie is a really big fan. In fact, we probably will end up going back out there, I think, because the Alamo, which is the Western Film Museum, is only an hour and a half away from where Matt's based. My dad really wants to go there, as does my auntie, but my auntie's 80, so she won't be travelling there. So we're going to go and do it for her. I was a bit poor with the Winchester. I couldn't quite get the sights on. I struggled with that one a little bit. Didn't hit the target. Then we shot, I believe it's an MP4, but with a shortened barrel and a silencer and a digital scope. So it's like a proper kind of modern feeling weapon.
MP5.
Might be an MP5.
Yeah, MP4 is a videos.
Okay, MP5 then. I think I said MP4.
So you got the old there's an old meme about it. So you got MP4, MP3, MP4, and then MP3, MP4. They're encoding, and then MP5, which is is a machine pistol. And then you got Ron Burgundy going, well, that escalated quickly.
yeah. That makes sense. So again, we shot that. None of the weapons were automatic; they were all single shot. But Matt did say that. So my dad shot first on all of them, and I shot second. And he did say, right, on the MP5, just empty the magazine. So I did just go like that, which was good. Then we travelled the other side of the lake. So we were now 100 meters away from the targets that we were shooting at. And that's when we got the AK-47, the Russian AK-47. Which is a bit of a brutal weapon. It is like the MP5 was silenced, so that doesn't make much of a thing. And the only trouble I had, which you'll see from the clip that I'll put in, is as I shot it, like the casing got ejected right towards me, and I was like, oh, so I'm holding the phone. But the AK-47 makes a real clack, and it's violent. It's like, so yeah, that was interesting. Again, not automatic, but single shot.
They are very metal on metal. They're when you take them apart, what's interesting is that the amount of gun oil inside them is generally quite low, but it's like an old truck. Everything seems to grind against everything else. What's weird though, I don't know if you noticed it, but when you are using it, the amount of noise that comes out of it isn't a lot. What I remember was it's just this mechanical kind of like clack 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 noise that was coming out of it.
Yeah, very very
Whereas
mechanical.
If you're on the other side, it's obviously a bit loud.
Yes,
dangerous.
It's almost like the sound is funneled. So we did that, and then the last one we shot Matt's hunting rifle. So I'll tell a bit more about the ranch and why he's got a hunting rifle. But my dad went first, and so the rifle is what they term zeroed for 100 meters. So if you've got the scope on something and you're 100 meters away, it will hit exactly at that point. You know, that type of thing. So we were 100 meters away because Matt has measured it from the target. So he was telling us it's zeroed for that. So if you've got it on the target, you shouldn't be able to do that. And my dad shot it and hit the target, and I went second. And Matt was like, "Well, you're gonna have to go for it." And I to the point that I held my breath, I reckon, for a good 20 seconds to get the thing steady to make sure I hit it. I did hit it. Again, clips will be inserted as part of the podcast, but. Yeah, so that was good. But the reason why Matt's got such a big ranch is because if you have a certain acreage and you do a certain amount of things, so put bird boxes, deer feeders, keep control of certain wildlife, you get like massive government grants and tax relief, so it's really cheap to own. So yeah, you get even though Matt's drive is like half a mile, it means that he gets it quite cheap, and the house that's on there he's built, it's like custom built, so he's got an office, he's got this, that and the other that's all comfortable and all shaped and sized to what they wanted. So he's got the hunting rifle to get rid of the wild pigs, which don't sound very dangerous when you realise that when it means wild pigs, he means boars, which are very dangerous. And he was showing us photos of some of the boars that he's had to take out as part of like when he's found them on the thing, and why he has the hunting rifle, because you need to be able to get them from a distance because you don't want to get close to the buggers. So yeah, it was a very good trip, and then we flew back on the Wednesday to Thursday, which was fine. A 9-minute delay was the most major thing, and landed straight into Storm Benjamin on the Thursday afternoon. I was like, great, this is a great welcome from back to the UK. It was cold and it was wet. Nice. And what was worse is I did all of the driving. So my dad I drove from where I live, where I've moved to now, back to my parents, which is about 2 hours away. Then I drove from my parents to Heathrow, which is about 2 hours away. Then Matt drove us, to be fair, from the airport to his. And then I drove to the circuit and back 3 days, to Walmart and back 3 times. I even drove Matt at one point to one other place. We did do the Wendy's run. We did do a fast food restaurant, which was quite tasty. Nice. I had a grape Fanta, which I thought was excellent. Just something a bit different. So we then, and then when we got home, I then drove from Heathrow back to my parents, and then from my parents back to mine. So my dad didn't have to do any driving at all. He was a proper passenger princess the whole time.
Nice. Nice.
But the wildlife that we saw, my dad took like 1,000 photos. We saw lizards. We didn't see any snakes. We saw deer. We saw birds, so like cardinals, mockingjays, all those types of things. My dad was on the last day, on the Wednesday that we were going to go to the airport, and I was recording the Weekly Waffle. he comes over and he goes, "Oh, I've just taken a look at this spider. Like the spider was like this, like all gold and black." I'm like, that doesn't look safe. And Matt said, "No, that one's fine. Just don't disturb the funnel spiders." So what does my dad go and do? He goes and drops a stick on a funnel spider nest to get this funnel spider to come crawling out, so he can get a photo of it. I was like, the last thing I need you to do, Dad, is for that to crawl up your leg, bite you, and then we have to delay our flight because you're in A&E because you've been bitten by a funnel spider, you moron.
You're dead.
Oh, dear. So, it was
like
really
an Australian
good.
funnel web, right? Probably not the
What?
wisest thing to go and do. So disturb
No.
an Australian funnel web.
Yeah. Just, it is what it is. But we all made it back safe and sound.
Nice.
Had a
Nice.
really, really good time.
Excellent. So
Met
highlight
a lot of it.
apart. Oh, go on.
Oh, highlight. I would say, I think the barbecue is probably my highlight, as bad as that sounds. But I did enjoy the guns, and what I enjoyed most, which I wouldn't have got at a hotel, I enjoyed the freedom, because Matt was like, so this ranch, like he'd leave the keys of the Sequoia in the Sequoia, right? He never took it out. It was just the car was unlocked. So me and my dad were free to kind of get to drive anywhere. And we didn't take the piss. We didn't drive very far, to be honest. We only used about half a tank of fuel that we were there, which was about 12 miles, because it only does about 12 miles to the gallon. I loved the freedom that we had, but Black's was a highlight, and I just enjoyed all of it. Just the whole thing was just an experience. I think I met the full range of stereotypical Americans, right? We met the rednecks. We met the what I'm going to call the Barbies that just had skirts that were way, way too short, that didn't leave anything to the imagination. Not that I'm complaining in some cases. In some cases, I was complaining quite a lot. It is what it is. I'm a bloke, right? Bite me. So yeah,
Your
was
biology.
yeah, yes. As much as I am single, I still am a bloke and stuff like that. So yeah. I'm sure I've forgotten something. I had to make a list when I originally went and did that. Oh dear.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you
Cool.
had an amazing time. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yes. And now to concentrate on my health and no more flying and holidays for a little bit, unfortunately. I didn't think that we'd get an hour and a half in at this point, but so I'll skip the Dom against America one for another later date when I'm feeling fully ranty about like Trump and all of the dastardly things that he does, but also everything to do with reform and all of the idiots that seem to be in the world. Because I think we need some zen from Jerry, because that's what Jerry's written down.
Zen. It depends on how deep we want to go into this topic. I'm not going to go full deep into it. Maybe have another episode where we focus on it a bit more. But the reason why I mentioned Zen is because I've just finished a book called I think it's like Buddhism Made Simple. And yeah, it was quite mind blowing actually. I enjoyed the first half, didn't enjoy the second half because it's all a bit too. Hypothetical's the wrong kind of word, but it got to a point as I was going into the second half of the book where I thought basically what it's saying to you is you can't think or do or say or feel anything, because as soon as you do, then that's not enlightenment. And that's
Remove
not
all
truth.
earthly desires.
Yeah, so it's just like you can't feel any emotion and you can't think of the future and you can't think of the past. You've just got to be in the present, and nothing's good, nothing's bad, nothing's hot or cold, or everything's neutral. Everything's neutral, and I kind of think, well,
It gets a bit theoretical rather than realistic.
and then you kind of think, well, if you live your life like that, then I don't know. What have you got to offer when you go to like dinner parties or something, and people go, oh, so what do you do? And you go, I don't do anything. I just exist. I am.
I live in the
I live
moment.
in this moment.
So what do you do for fun? Well,
Fun. You see,
Yeah,
fun. You
fun.
can't. Fun is like the opposite
Yeah, you
of
can't
not
have
fun.
Sorry.
So you can't do that. See, so it
No.
it was all a bit much, but I do like the whole concept of Zen, and there are stories, and Zen stories in particular, actually tickle me. And my favourite one is the story of the old farmer who worked his crops for many years, and one day his horse ran away, and upon hearing the news, his neighbours came to visit him, and they said, "Oh, that's such bad luck." You know, he said sympathetically, and the farmer just went, "Yeah, maybe." And then the next morning, the horse returned, and it brought 3 other wild horses with it. And the neighbours came over, and they're like, "Oh, how wonderful! Talk about good luck! Now you've got 3 horses." And he's like, the old man just went, "Yeah, maybe." And then the following day, his son tried to ride one of the untamed horses, and he was thrown off, and he broke his leg. So the neighbours came back, and they offered their sympathy on that misfortune, and so I'm really sorry to hear what's happened, and yeah, it's really unfortunate. And the farmer just said, "Yeah, maybe." And then the day after, military officials came to the village to draft young men into the army, and seeing that the son's leg was broken, they passed him by. So the neighbours congratulated the farmer on how well things had turned out, and said, that "How lucky is your son? How lucky are you that happened?" And the farmer again just shrugged his shoulders and went, "Maybe." And so it can just go on and on. So the whole point of that story is that you can interpret a situation as something good or bad, and it shapes your emotions accordingly. But that story shows that we can never truly know how a situation is going to turn out. So just take it for what it is. So there's no good or bad. It's only what's happened, and then how you choose to respond to it. So no event in and of itself can truly be judged as good or bad, or lucky and unlucky, or fortunate and unfortunate. So, and only with time do you get to understand like what that actually meant. But then things always go up and down, right? So, and it's infinite. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I like that story. Yeah. But there is something I want to do with the Zen theme. So I won't say any more on this, but I think I'd like to have I need to speak to you about it, Dom. Have a Zen theme, Zen section.
Well, it's really poignant for myself, right? And we love a good poignant question, because I'm 3/4 of the way through a book called The Let Them Theory. So most people have known my admiration for Mel Robbins, who came up with the 5-second rule, and she's obviously written the second book, The Let Them, or third book. Well, it's a third book, might be a fourth, but it's called The Let Them Theory, which is sort of changing a little bit how I approach and how I'm hopefully going to solve I'm going to refer to it as my stress issues. And I think, Steve, you probably just have this down anyway, right? Because you just think, fuck it, let's let them. Right, with most things happen.
That's because I read Mark Manson.
Yes.
Yeah.
The subtle art of not giving a fuck.
I just don't. I'm very much. I mean, I've always approached life like that. I've always approached life like, you know what? If it's worthy of me giving it attention, it's worthy of me giving it attention, and it comes from a place where I gave too many things too much attention, burned out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Having someone that's probably in full burnout, and doctors kind of going, "Can we sign you off from work?" And I'm like, "No, not sure that's gonna." Anyway, and I mean, the Let Them theory is basically sort of saying, like in a nutshell, there's actually 2 parts, right? You cannot control what other people are going to do and what other people are going to think, right? So fuck it, just let them. Right, they're not going to do that. And then there is a second part, which is the bit that actually did intrigue me.
Is it called Eat Cake?
No.
That's disappointing.
The second half is what she refers to as let me. Right. So, like, there's hundreds of scenarios, but it's like you can't dictate how somebody's going to do it. So just let them do the thing, right? And then you're supposed to say, let me do something that's going to be right. Whether that's let me just ignore that and walk away because it's just not worth my time. Whether it's an irritating family member that's got an odd political opinion, just let them have that opinion and let me go and put my passions into something else, right? It's supposed to sort of step away from that thing. It's interesting. I can't remember it now, but as well as I'd like. But there was a middle part of the book I was like, I now actually understand, as weird as this is going to sound so strange, weirdly, the Jedi teachings about having no earthly, like, disattaching yourself from, like, having, not desires, they don't call it desires, they sort of say, like, sort of like attachments, but actually it's not about not falling in love with people and not about enjoying life. It's more about understanding what you can and can't control. So if they do something, just go and do something else that isn't going to do that. And I'm hoping that's going to be a little bit like that. And a really good example, like, is invoking change and all of that, and how actually telling someone that they need to change is going to generally invoke them to not want to change, right? It kind of goes against all psychological elements. So, you need to show people the right way, which is why, even though I get disheartened at times being in a corporate / capitalism environment, by hopefully holding my values and being true to my values, that other people will follow some of the examples that I give. Who knows? That feels like I'm fighting a losing battle at times.
Absolutely,
But
right.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
You do, yeah. It's difficult because I think the three of us have very similar values, and I think I do struggle a lot with a lot of the corporate things, because I think we're in a weird position, the three of us, where we're not doing well, but we're not actually doing badly. We're comfortable.
yeah,
And I think that we, to some degree, you think, okay, great, the whole, like, oh, let's tax the rich, and then you go, okay, how far down that tree are they going to go?
yeah, exactly. I'm not looking forward to the November budget, because it won't tax
Well, they're not
the
gonna
rich.
tax the top
It will just
1%.
fuck me over.
They're not going to tax the people who really need to be taxed. They're going to lay it on the people who are in the bracket that we're in, and they're going to crush us, basically. And like you say, and I think one of the things that we talk about is that, with the national insurance change that they've made, finding a job outside of, it's hard, because people are just going, yeah, we're not hiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just we can't afford to hire people. So it's unless, of course, weirdly enough, as a contractor, where your national insurance is your problem, then that's fine. But it's tough.
And then I've sort of gone, well, it's going to happen, right? I don't have that control or influence. Like, absolutely, there may be a point where I go, actually, do you know what? I will write a strongly worded letter, but they will still make whatever decision they want to make, and bits.
It's not going to change anything. This is
no,
the
it
thing.
won't change anything. So let them, right?
So people go, I'm going to go protest. It's not going to change anything.
Not unless
anything.
something like really dramatic kind of really changes. Some of the No Kings protests that we saw while we were over in Austin were pretty dramatic.
Yeah, but they're not. Even then, they're still not going to create change, I don't think. I mean, you look at these pro-Palestine marches and whatnot, and nothing changed. It's just nothing. The influence is in the wrong place. You can't just march around and go, oh, we're for this or we're against that, and lots of shouting and screaming and carrying on, and it doesn't change anything. And that's the thing. Is like, why would you go and put your time and effort and wealth and whatever into something that's not going to have any impact at all whatsoever?
Not without something dramatic.
Because I was part of it. Yeah, because I was part of it. I mean, people were going. I remember that after the apartheid government fell, people were going, oh, I used to go on marches and whatnot, and I was like, well, that didn't actually change anything. What actually changed, the fact was the country went bankrupt because they couldn't get any foreign investment. That's why they had to change, and they had to actually do it via referendum. Otherwise, they would have had open warfare. So yeah, there you go. Your march, you basically got sore feet. Well done.
Oh, don't get me wrong. There are some marches that have done that, but they were on the dramatic, right? You look at like the suffragettes, like they died for it, right? And all the stuff that we do at the moment. And like Russia is not going to change unless something dramatic happens. And as terrible as it sounds, and this is probably going to get me kicked off the internet, it's not going to change until Putin dies. Just put it out.
Well, there's a
or several of him and several of his leaders die, and a huge kind of uproar. Because that's their opinions. That's where they are.
It's a difficult one, because the vacuum that he's going to leave behind, and I agree with you. I think it's going to take open revolt and a military coup for him to step down and for things to change in terms of Ukraine. But the vacuum that it's going to leave behind, you have to remember how big Russia really is, and
Russia's huge.
How many provinces and whatnot make up Russia. And he's kind of got them all under control at the moment. Well, sort of. Even now they are falling apart a bit, but he's still more or less got them under control. When he goes, what happens to all of that? And what's even worse is that they've stored all their nuclear weapons out there. So if you have like 25 breakaway provinces, they all go, oh, we're independent countries now. And, oh, by the way, look what we've got. It all becomes a bit more dangerous.
Yeah. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And I think the let them theory, like, I haven't put it into practice and I'm still trying to get my head around the book, but like it's very similar. The Jedi kind of teachings, the Buddhist teachings, this book, they're all very similar, and it's all about going, what can I control, which is your own emotions, your own reaction to it. Admittedly, it means that I've come back into work and I've just got, I can't be bothered with this. It's just going to be a mess regardless of what I do. So just give me the mess and I'll sort out what needs to be sorted out, and I'll let you know that. And it was really interesting to have a conversation with Matt, like my dad's work colleague, because he, to hear him on a call sort of go, it's idiots doing idiot things because they're idiots. And you're like, well, yeah, it's not wrong, right? It's an Archer quote, I think, as well, actually, where he walks past.
Yeah, this is an Archer quote.
Idiots doing idiot things because they're idiots.
Because they're idiots. I think that's a Cyril. I think it's a Cyril Figgis quote, isn't it?
No, it's not. Archer says it.
It's definitely.
Archer says it about Pam,
remember.
Cyril, and I can't remember.
Yeah. Oh, I love Archer.
I love
Everybody needs to be a bit more Archer. Everyone needs to be a bit more Archer. I think I've more or less lived my life. I lived a lot of my life a bit like Archer, where I've always been a bit like 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Nothing bad is ever really going to happen because, and it's like people go, oh, I remember there was an old rugby friend, and he was like, said, I'm pretty sure that one day you might have to take a bullet for somebody, and I know that you'd be comfortable with that because you'd be the reason that people fuck it, I hate when people like me.
But yeah, I mean, like, whatever organisation that deals with capitalism that we've got, like, I've just got to let them do it and be like, okay, it's fine.
Like Elsa says, let it go.
Yeah,
let it go.
My dad likes these. There's another song that
Don't give a fuck anymore.
We should do some more Zen stuff, Jerry. We should get on our positive mental health back
Let's
on
do
this
it.
podcast.
Let's do it. I think it might be coming up to a point where I might need to concentrate on my mental health a bit more as well. So we'll get there. And I think, like you say, Dom, I think this has been inspiring for me tonight because there's a lot of stuff going on, and we are just going to have to let things happen. And Jerry and I have been working towards at work a common goal, and one of the things I've been saying to him and various other people is, this is not something we can control, so I don't think we should try. I think this has to play out, and we just have to be there and keep an eye on it as it goes, and step in where we can. Unfortunately, there are people for whom that message is uncomfortable, and that's fine. We'll get him on side eventually when he eventually has a heart attack and dies, or poor guy.
I don't think he will now. We've had words.
You've had words. Good
I've had words.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I've genuinely for a long time, for the last few years actually, since I've encountered Mark Manson, he's he's not like he's one of those guys who goes, I'm not a self-help guy.
Well, his
But the
first
stuff
book.
that he says is so interesting.
Well, I like the subtle art of not giving a fuck is a really interesting, because people think that originally that means sitting on the fence, but if you read the first chapter, what it means is being like fuck the consequences rather than don't give a fuck about things. And so the example is
it's very
right. If your grandmother got screwed out of $100,000 by a builder, the art of not giving a fuck is basically saying, no, do you know what? Fuck it. We are gonna fucking take this guy to court and get that back because I'm annoyed. It's not about it's about not giving a fuck, about putting in the effort into the things that feel right and sort of almost being like putting in your own justice. So a really good example, right? I use that in very small ways. I've noticed two things on the road. Stuff like signs and traffic lights being broken don't just randomly get fixed, because there aren't just highway people traveling around looking for these things. You actually have to report it. It's the same as at work. If you don't, and the amount of times I have to tell people, if nothing will get done unless you raise a ticket. As annoying as that is, if you raise a ticket, it does get done. And
guys, we all know this, right?
But
it's like anyone who's ever worked in IT, it's not going to get done.
It's the same with the highways. I reckon I've had about 7 traffic lights fixed, right? Because I've gone, that traffic light isn't working. Let me just report that. And then lo and behold, a week later, it's fixed. And I'm like, it's been broken for months. And within a week of me reporting it, because nobody thinks to report it. The amount of times that...
the only way for it to get fixed faster is if there's a massive accident.
Yeah.
So, you can report it or people can die. And I feel like reporting it's probably the nicest thing to do.
So I don't give a fuck if Dorset County Council turn around and go, we're going to ban your account from reporting things, because things are getting fixed.
No, they won't. So it doesn't work like that.
But the other one as well is the same with my dash cam. So on the way back from Heathrow, we nearly died because a National Express coach decided that, oh, do you know what? That car that's coming down the slip road is coming out at my point. And even though I'm on the motorway and have right of way, I'm just going to panic, indicate, and move into the middle lane. Despite the fact that I was there and there was 2 cars on my outside. I was like, shit! Full horn, full emergency stop, squirreling. And I'm like, and my dad was like, oh, just whatever. And I was like, no, actually, I have a dash cam. I'm going to grab the footage. Or I've grabbed the footage. I've sent that to the police, and I've sent that to the National Express thing. I've gone, is this acceptable driving from your National Express person? No. It's about not giving a fuck that person may lose their job, or at least have to retake their license or get some points on their license through dangerous driving. Or the police and National Express may do nothing about it, and whatever, let them. But I've done what I can do is in my control. So that's kind of the subtle art of not giving a fuck. It's not giving a fuck about the consequences.
Yeah, it's about the consequences. It's about not caring that practice is hard. It's about, there's a lot of things that it's about. I think for me was the big thing was take responsibility for everything in your life, even if you're not to blame. So if something happens to you, it's happened. Okay? Yeah. Might not be your fault. But you need to take responsibility for it. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right. We've got a bit kind of deep.
Yeah. Shall we skip to the
Jerry,
bottom
and
bit,
Jerry
then?
hasn't laughed in the last. Jerry hasn't laughed in that last at least 10 minutes, and I feel guilty. Because that's really the only thing that I come on for, is to make him laugh. It actually makes me happy to make you laugh.
I'm just taking it all in.
It's why I come to this.
I'm still processing Yardley.
Yardley Gold. I wish I could get you some.
I know we've talked about loads of things, but I haven't actually moved on from Yardley Gold.
Yardley Gold. It was obscene. Anyone who was around in the 80s, I don't know if it was actually launched in the UK. It probably wasn't.
Actually, I don't remember Yardley Gold.
From my part of the original part of the world, then you might remember Yardley Gold.
I don't remember Yardley Gold. I remember Brute 33.
Brute 33.
I remember Denim.
You remember what?
Denim.
Yeah. We had Denim.
Yeah. And
But the big one from the Middle East was the big one from the sort of like Turkey in the Middle East was always Tricanoir.
yes,
Yes, Tricanoir. No, for Family Guy, mate took the piss out of it, because Stewie would be like there was this in their version of Taken. It was like the secret word was Tricanoir.
actually, Dracar Noir was a good fragrance in its day. To be fair,
I've heard.
and the other
Smell
one
of
was
sweat and
Jazz. Do you remember
desperation.
Jazz?
Ah, Jazz. I remember the tagline for that. Jazz, because it makes you feel so good. Jazz.
You can still buy that.
No.
Good lord!
Who's that by?
It's £71.25 for 100ml. Flipping out.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
Who's it by?
Yeah. It was launched in 1988.
I am feeling really bad that my fragrance, and I'm actually going to look up Yardley
Yardley Gold.
Gold, South Africa. Yardley Gold.
I just love the fact.
Availability sold in South Africa. So it refers to the Yardley English Blazer Eau de Parfum Gold for men, a fragrance available in South Africa that features a bold scent with top notes of mandarin and grapefruit, a heart of nutmeg, cinnamon and vanilla, and woody undertones. It can still be purchased. No way. It's also called the Yardley English Blazer Eau de Parfum Gold.
Yeah, so you've got the main accords are amber, woody, warm, spicy, citrus, green, lavender, balsamic, and aromatic.
645 rand. I don't know what that is in.
It's probably £2.99.
Probably.
And same
What
again
is
for
600?
postage and packing.
Hang on. Well, that's from South Africa, so it's probably going to be a little bit more. But no way, they actually still make it. Door-to-door courier, 80 rand. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know what the rand is to the dollar, pound, whatever we use. Well, there you go. It's a bold fragrance. Yardley Gold. Yardley English Blazer Eau de Parfum Gold.
I'll read you a review from Fragrantica for it.
Of?
Yardley Gold.
Of? The South African one.
No, I don't know, just Yardley Gold. So it says very warm, very spicy and woody scent. It is very strong in its performance in longevity, sillage and projection. It will slot in very nicely in my winter rotation between the Tom Fords, Aqua de Palmas and all the other colder weather scents.
Oh my god. like
Love
London London Gentlemen.
London
Gentlemen.
Blackbeard's
No,
delight.
This kitty gets.
Oh dear.
I saw a thing online where somebody had made the bottle of Sex Panther. He'd made a bottle out of a ping pong ball and fashioned the ears and painted it black and done the whole like fake lawn thing with the box and everything.
Yeah. What, did it make the sound as you opened the...
Yeah, it was like wow, wow. And I popped up and everything. He made it. I can't believe. Oh. If I had that level of commitment, I'd make you.
That's brilliant.
I don't know what I'd put in the bottle though. I'd have to put something like
Yardley Gold.
Well, it's like petrol. No, petrol and Indian food in a used diaper or something.
60% of the time it works.
And it works
Every time.
every time. That makes no sense. That's such a classic film. I do love that film. Speaking of films, can we talk about films?
Yeah,
Tell
we
me
can talk
about the films you watched on the plane, Dom.
I did. I do.
I do.
I do.
I said. I am, I cried. I am, said I.
That's
Neil
like
Diamond.
What? Oh,
By the way, I'm gasping for a cup of
I
tea.
thought it was not Cat in the Hat. What's the name of the bloody author that does those ones?
Dr. Zeus.
Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss. That's what that sounded like.
So
Steve.
there is a Neil Diamond song called "I Am I Said." I am I said, I am I cried, I am said I.
Not one that I know of.
And then of course if you're doing Doctor Evil, you go
Doctor Evil. How do we go from Dr. Seuss?
Yeah, no. Neil Diamond. Which character is it? Oh, yeah, it's Goldmember, isn't it?
Oh my god!
It's
We're just
Goldmember.
getting the full inner workings of Chat Stevie T's mind.
This is how
It's
AI
like a
is
mind
created,
map.
folks.
This
like
is my
mind map.
subroutine. No, but you remember he goes something like he says something, and then he goes, come on, man,
Scotty
you know
Dog.
this."
Scotty Doo.
No.
No.
So Goldmember will say something along the lines of, I can't remember. He'll quote something, and then like at the side of his breath, he'll say, "Who quoted it?" Oh,
Yeah,
God's
he
sake,
goes.
have I actually got to look
Yeah,
this
because that's
shit
when he
up?
goes, and that's the way. I like it.
Like it.
And then
Yes, and then
he goes. What's the name of the band that?
Casey and the
Sunshine
Sunshine Band. But you had to have something that was like Sunshine.
That's
Casey
the
and
way.
the Sunshine Band.
I like it. Casey and the
I like
Sunshine
it.
Band.
Casey and the Sunshine Band. Yeah. So Neil Diamond. Yeah. Hang on. I need to look up the lyrics. I am. I said.
I'm sorry, Swanee.
Fasha.
The Fasha. Oh Christ! We got you started now, don't we?
I can tell by your Deutsch Band. You ready to do it? Like a tiger.
Yeah. I am, I said, to no one there, and no one heard it all, not even the chair. I am, I cried. I am, said I. And I am lost, and I can't even say why, leaving me lonely still.
Neil
Neil
Diamond.
You two are massive losers.
Oh, I do like Neil Diamond.
What a
Bit of a
gem.
fan.
Don't you play
Bit
the
of a fan.
laughing boy
Was
with
it?
me?
Wasn't
There's
that?
only two things I
Oh,
can't
I
stand.
didn't appreciate my pun.
Wasn't that? In Big Bang Theory when the Amy and Howard are driving in the car together and they bond over Neil Diamond. When they're in the middle of Paper Chase that
Oh, I
Raj
don't remember
put
that
together.
one. No, I don't remember that one.
Right, we can
Love
do
on
film
the
reviews because I need
We
a
can
cup
do
of
film
tea.
Oh yeah. I gotta go to bed at some
I
point.
do. I
tonight.
need a cup of tea. I need to put the kettle on.
But
It's
we'll
5
put the
past
kettle on.
9.
We can
Sorry?
pause it now. He's got to get his Horlicks in. You know, he's aging premature.
I was going to say it was Bovril.
It's a
I
bar.
fucking love Horlicks. I do love Horlicks.
Yeah, but not at this time of night. No, I want full
hot Bovril?
caffeinated hot Bovril. No, not at gone 9
Hot
o'clock.
Bovril toddy. Are you going to put some like Jack Daniels in the hot bottle?
Yes, because like having literally half a glass of Gentleman Jack wasn't enough. So, yes, I'm gonna
You
have.
need to have
I'm gonna
Baileys and
a-
hot chocolate. That's the one you want.
I am going to stress that for anyone listening, half a glass of Gentleman Jack is not enough. Even on a Monday.
No, it's enough on a Monday, Steve.
Is it?
It is.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
It is when I wake up
It is.
tomorrow and think, what the fuck did we do?
But when I poured the half a glass, and
It'll
then
be
I took,
recorded, so you'll know.
Well, I
You're
took
going
a
to have
look
to
at
go
the
through
bottle.
this, and you're going to be like trimming about 5 hours off this, because you're going to have like Jerry's going to go make Horlicks, and then a Bovril, and then maybe
Steve's got to go to the
I don't
bathroom
know,
for the 4th time in 10 minutes.
and the 5th, and the 6th, and the 7th. Strong chance there's an 8 in there as well.
Oh, dear. Movies.
Don't get
So,
old, guys. Don't
on
get
the
old.
plane, the beauty of a modern plane is that they
Change on
always
the
have
plane.
up to date movies. So I managed to watch.
They're all censored though.
No, they weren't.
What?
No,
Oh, that's
they
Were you in
weren't.
the adult section?
That's good.
Were you in the adult section of the plane, where children couldn't accidentally see what you were watching?
No, I just don't think it was. It just wasn't censored. It had an 18 warning on it. So I watched The Ballerina, which is the
Very nice.
John
I enjoyed
Wick.
that.
John Wick.
I have seen that.
franchise. Have you seen it yet, Jerry?
I have not. I saw the.
Worth watching.
Is it?
Very worth watching.
I saw the
Yeah.
trailer for
I'm going
it.
to
and-
ask a question. I'm going to ask a question, Dom.
Mm-hmm.
Should John Wick have been in that film?
No.
Bearing in mind that it happens after the events of John Wick 3, where he leaves the thing and he gets
But
his
before-
ticket stamped.
Yeah.
But before he dies, because I
Yeah.
don't think he's dead. Do you think he should have been in that film, considering what he does in the film? And I'm not going to spoil it for Jerry, but considering what he does and the relationship that he has with the people that he communicates with during the film, given the timeline, I don't think he should have been in it.
I don't think he should have been in it as much. So I liked the first scene with him in, where it was almost like a bump into them in a corridor type
Yeah, there was
thing.
the bump into thing, which everyone's seen because it's in the trailer.
Yeah. But the latter part, I was a bit like, that's a bit OTT.
His involvement confused me.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed it. The story's a bit... It's a story. It's a bit plain.
So good. Anna Darmus is so good. She's like the female.
Your mic's
just
gone
me,
very
or
quiet,
can you not
Steve.
hear
You sound like
Oh,
you're
for the love of God.
He's not going to help us. You're back now.
No, Anna de Armas. She's like the female Pedro Pascal. She's like in everything. Now.
She is at the moment, yes.
Yeah, she's so good though.
Yeah, like I thought the acting was good, the script was okay, the story was okay, the scenes were brilliant, right? It was a really well thought out thing. There were a couple of moments I was like, would that actually happen? But like you always kind of take it away with the like you take it with a pinch of salt in some
It's
of
a
those
movie.
things. It was mostly around the grenade bits, and I was like, surely it would just blow. Okay, fine. And there were some bits that were very
Depends on
funny.
What kind of grenades out?
Yeah, there were some
So I
bits
don't know
where
if
it
you
just
know.
blew his head off.
Yeah. So Russian grenades, Soviet grenades, traditionally are not fragmentation grenades. It's like German grenades during World War II. The old stick grenades, those weren't fragmentation grenades. They were high explosive. Very few countries used a fragmentation grenade. Britain, America, Soviet Union to some extent used them. But fragmentation grenades were something that, not many people used. So the Soviet Union and Russia to some extent, fragmentation grenades are used, but they're not as widely used. And they do need to have all that kind of like ribbed for her pleasure kind of texture on the side. You know what I mean? The whole like lumpiness. Another Archer thing, but I'm not going to go into it. But I think most of what they were using in the Ballerina were like high explosive, but they were mostly flashbangs. Or that kind of like pencil shaped, or that kind of slender thing with the holes in. Those are flashbangs mostly in that film. But yeah, I know what you mean. The scene with the grenades.
Yeah. I mean, it
Again,
was entertaining.
it's
It was very, very,
Very
very,
entertaining.
very entertaining. But I was a bit like, I'm just going to put my skepticism to the
Was that
side.
the scene with the sister? Is that the scene
No,
with the
it's
sister?
well, there's that one, but where like it kind of explodes and they get thrown across. But there is a bit earlier where she picks up all the grenades and that's her weapon. And so where she basically shoves it down his throat and then closes the door, or opens the door fully, so it's just him like lodged between the corner of the wall and the door like that, and she's leaning against it, and it goes bang, and the door doesn't move. And I was like, no, the door would have like swung you around type thing.
Yeah.
So
no,
yeah,
I liked the Ballerina. I enjoyed it. Again, I'm going to give that one I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because John Wick was in it to the extent that he was.
yeah,
And it didn't make sense.
I would have given it an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it.
Tee you up, Dom.
Yes. It's past my bedtime. It's 9:15. I'm normally in bed by now.
I need
9
a cup of
o'clock,
tea.
just about.
I don't know if I've mentioned
We'll
this.
go make a cup of tea. We'll go make a cup of tea.
Go make
Might
a cup
even
of
have a
tea.
ta-
No, I'm not going to go
Me
make
and
a cup of tea
Steve will
now.
talk about Ballerina.
No, I'm not going to make a cup of tea now.
Right, so what was the other movie you watched?
Ford versus Ferrari, which I really, really enjoyed.
So good.
Good car
So good.
movie. Matt Damon was excellent.
Is that Matt Damon?
And
My
Christian
favorite
Bale.
part of that. My favorite part of that film is when he the guy from Ford turns up. Maybe it is Ford himself. The guy turns up at the
Henry
factory.
Ford.
And he says, I want to see what my money goes. And he goes, take you for a ride. And he goes, do you like to go fast? He goes, yeah. He goes, okay, attaboy. And off he just goes.
Yeah,
and off he goes.
The name on that steering wheel says that I want. Says that. Hit it, Shelby. Attaboy.
Attaboy. It's just the way he says attaboy, and off they go. And he's like, But Christian Bale played an absolutely brilliant role in that film. I mean, Christian Bale made that film.
Yeah, so good. Really, really good. That's a 9 out of 10 film. Obviously, the car sequences, they never are good because they always have too much gear shifting, and it's not the way that an engine works, but it was really entertaining. Really enjoyed it. The drama behind it.
It's called the Days of Thunder effect.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The Days of Thunder effect, where you're doing 95 in second gear, and then all of a sudden you change up to first, and it's my go fast. Talladega Nights took the piss out of that beautifully. Talladega Nights took the piss out of that so beautifully. I call it the Days of Thunder effect, because that was kind of when they started doing that.
Yeah. But it was
Ford vs Ferrari, classic.
Yeah, really, really good.
Have you seen it, Cherry? Have you seen it?
Nope. Another film for you to add to the list.
That's on your watch list.
And then I watched Dune Part 2, which was shit. It was fucking awful. I think for two reasons, right? Two reasons. One, I couldn't remember what happened in the first one because it's been a while since I watched it, but I don't remember the first one being great. And the second one, nothing happened. There's no real action sequence. It's just I'm in a sandy place. I'm in a sandy place. I've ridden a worm. I'm in a different sandy place, and it's all politics. But it didn't explain anything. People kept why was Florence Pugh there? Who was she? Was she in the first one? I don't remember.
You see, I watched them back to back. I waited until the second one came out, and then I watched them back to back. And then it all made a lot more sense. And I did realize that I can sit through about 75 hours of film without twitching. It was quite...
They're true to the book.
They're very
but apparently the book's pretty shit anyway.
The book... So I read the first...
The first book's supposed to be quite good, but the second one's supposed to be awful. Very good.
Second book I struggled with, so I ended up not reading the third one.
Children of Dune?
Yeah, I can't remember
Dune Messiah.
what it's called. Yeah, there's Dune Messiah.
I've read Dune. And I've watched the original Dune, the one with
that
Kyle
was
MacLachlan.
shockingly bad.
I mean, look, as a film, it's not close to the book.
But nothing happened. It kept jumping around, and there was a couple of times hang on a minute, are we in modern times? Have we gone back? There was no concept, and I'm just like, what is going on? I don't understand. It's just Timothée Chalamet shouting at a load of people. I don't get it. I really, I don't know whether
Sounds
it's me.
like the King.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's just me that I just didn't understand it, and maybe I'm just too dumb to understand it. But genuinely, I just didn't. I thought it was terrible.
I found that if I watched them back to back, they were quite. It made more sense. I did watch them back to back. That is about. It's a definite 6-hour time commitment.
That's a big commitment.
Yeah, and I'm just not sure. I'm not sure I've got that patience to go through it. So. Dune Part 2 would not recommend. Yawn, not my thing.
Okay. Jerry, what films have you got for us?
I then watched the original Matrix, and then I watched Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
Right, the classics.
Because I can.
The classics. Yeah, I haven't watched a film. I haven't watched anything new for months. Months.
I have one for you to watch.
Go on.
ASAP, because you got the Paramount.
I do.
Haven't you?
Yeah.
The Substance. Holy shit!
The Substance.
So this is a film with. I need to explain it without giving too much away. It's got Demi Moore in it. She's fantastic in this film. Absolutely fantastic. She got nominations for Oscars and all sorts of things for it. She's brilliant. But she is an aging kind of star in movies and whatnot. and she goes to see the doctor, and the doctor says, "Oh, you're getting a bit old, kind of thing. You're 50, even though she's actually 60, but she looks amazing." She then gets given this like USB to watch, and she watches it on a TV, and it's like The Substance, and it's a very cryptic kind of message that you get, like, "You are the Matrix. There will be another. You can only be one person for 7 days, and then you must swap back." Right? This kind of thing. So she goes, "Oh, I fancy a bit of that." And then, I'm not going to tell you what happens in terms of what happens, but basically it just goes horribly south from there. It's just it won best screenplay at Cannes.
I saw that. I saw that, by the way. I did
You
see
saw
an
the
advert
film?
for it. Yeah, I did see an advert for it, and it said it won the best screenplay at Cannes Film
It
Festival.
is incredible. You might find it slightly tough watch in places because it is a bit of a dark horror kind of film, but it's also a bit of a dark comedy kind of film. Brilliant. It's one of those films where you think about it and you go, "What would I do in that situation?" And you go, "Wow, okay, I kind of get it." It's I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil what happens because it's absolutely mind-blowing how they did it, the sequences and stuff like that. You'll sit there and you'll go, "What am I watching?"
Okay.
Effectively, what happens is, and I'm not going to spoil how it happens because that is just is gorgeous, but it kind of creates a second copy of the person, and they have to swap back to the other person every 7 days, and then swap back to the copy, swap back to the original, swap back to the copy, and so on. I'll leave it at that. It is incredible. That's the story.
Okay.
But the copy is much younger and prettier and all the rest of it than the original. So things start to cause complications in that space. It's very good. The Substance
I'm
is
intrigued.
very, very good.
Okay.
And the other film on Paramount to watch is Novocaine. It's about this guy who can't feel any pain whatsoever, and it's got, I think the guy who did the choreography was the guy who did the choreography for Nobody. But very good, very worth a watch.
Okay.
Basically, this guy can't feel any pain. He meets a woman, they fall in love, she gets abducted, and then he goes on a killing spree to go and get her back. But he can't feel any pain, so he puts himself through all kinds of horrible trauma to kind of do that.
Okay.
Watch the trailer.
Is that
Watch the
also
trailer.
on Amazon?
It's on Paramount.
It's on Paramount. Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be on Amazon, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Novocaine and The Substance, 2 films to watch. If you're listening to this and you've got Paramount, if you don't have it, maybe rent them. Very good.
Okay. I'm just making a note. Nice. Yeah, I'm intrigued about The
Nice.
Substance. I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, "What is this about?"
I saw the
Intrigued.
trailer and I thought, "Oh, it's gonna be a bit bullshitty." And I thought, "Oh well, I've got Paramount. Let me watch it." Am I glad I did?
Nice. Okay. Duly noted.
Ah, dear. Shall we finish off this podcast with a quick 10 blindly ranks?
Go on then.
Oh my gosh.
Film franchises, are you ready?
Go for
Oh
it.
no. Right, what are we doing again? What's blindly rank? Oh, you tell us something we've got to put into a top
1 to 10.
10, 5?
Or 5.
1 to
How
10.
many?
Right.
10.
10. I've gone film franchises.
10 being worst.
I've gone a
10
bit
being
basic.
worst, 1
bitch.
being best. Is 10
one
10
being
worst
best.
or 10 best?
1 is the best.
1 is best.
1's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but you don't know what's coming later, so you've got to do that. It's film franchises. It's a bit basic, bitch, but I know that you're both film lovers, so I'm just more intrigued to see where you would put these and bits and pieces like that. None of them are bad, he saes with bated breath.
Are you sure,
Jerry
Dom?
does not draw. Jerry does
I
not.
bloody
That's because
believe
I was just looking.
Lord.
I was
Don't
just
give me
looking at
that.
the ones above, and I forgot
Yeah.
about the pink wafer.
Don't give me that bollocks. I'm going to get complacent and then have another
Yeah.
boiled egg
Right.
moment. Go on.
Or pink wafer.
Oh, pink wafer. Yeah.
Right, Back to
Don't know
the
which one's
Future.
worse.
The Back to the Future trilogy.
Right, franchise. It's a franchise, yeah.
Franchise. There are 10 of them, right?
10.
There are 10 of them, okay. I'm going to go with... I'm a big fan of Back to the Future, so I'm going to go with 3.
6.
3. 6. Mission Impossible.
4.
5.
4. 5, 4. The Fast and the Furious.
10. Solid 12, actually.
I think I'm with Chat Stevie T on this one. 10.
Oh, double 10. John Wick.
Does that include the Ballerina or not?
I just said film franchises. It's your
It would include
interpretation.
the Ballerina. Yeah, it
Yeah.
would.
2.
2.
I'm a bit of a fan. I'd like to have had 3 for that one, but yeah, I've already taken
You've already
3.
selected 3.
I'm going to go with 2, and I might regret it.
3.
Yeah, 3 for you, Jerry.
Because I don't know what else is
Star
coming
Wars.
up. I mean,
Okay, all right. So if you'd asked me this before Phantom Menace, I would have gone 1. But seeing as it's everything that's come after Phantom Menace, 7.
7.
7.
7? What the hell?
I
Really?
don't
think
disagree.
that-
There's been some
I think
terrible Star Wars stuff.
I think the franchise has been really bad.
Over Disneyfied.
If you consider that there's the whole cartoon thing, and then there's the cartoon thing, and then there's the kids cartoon thing, and
Yeah, I think when you put it
And
into
then-
that context. Okay.
then there's the whole like episode 7, 8, and 9, or yeah.
I can't
So
believe I'm
thought
saying
were
this, but when you
boring.
take into account everything in that franchise, I'm going to go 7.
Just make sure you don't regret that.
I think it's a generous 7 because I think that lemon got fully squeezed.
Listen,
way
I'm not.
back.
I'm not.
Before Lucas got rid of it. That lemon was squeezed.
Listen, I tell you what. Dom's laughing. We're fucked.
Yeah, I know.
We've walked into
Pretty
this
much.
trap. Bollocks.
Well,
Bollocks. We've walked into a
I
trap.
was,
I can sense this.
I know.
God's
I know,
sake.
I
You
know.
have. I don't think you have.
I think I have because I can tell
Because
by
I've
the way you're
chosen, like-
laughing.
I've chosen some really big franchises. I've just
I
chosen
can
the
tell.
biggest franchises, so I think you'll regret it because it'll be not in the order that you want. But I think you'll be okay.
Bollocks.
Lord of the
We've
Rings.
walked into the trap. Right, go on.
I
then.
remember it's everything, right? So you've got the Rings of
Yeah.
Power, you've got Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings, The Hobbit.
Okay. 4.
You still have 4.
Oh, Lord of the Rings.
Shit, I think I know what's coming up.
I'm going to go with 5.
Yeah,
Bollocks.
still got that.
Bollocks, I know what's coming up.
Indiana Jones.
Ooh.
8.
8.
Do I have 6 left?
You do.
Okay, 8.
Die Hard.
Oh, see now there's a whole. 1 was epic. 2 was very good. 3 I actually really enjoyed. 4
I
actually
have a
really
machine
enjoyed.
gun now.
See, those are MP5s. 5.
You've had 5.
I'm
You
gonna.
have.
I'm gonna have to go 2 because I can't
No,
go
no, no.
9.
I've used 5. I've used 5, haven't I?
Yeah.
I've used 5. 4. They go with 4.
You've had 4.
I've
You
used 4.
have 1, 6, 9, and 10. 1,
Oh, okay.
6, 9. You
I've
put that
used a few
2,
then.
Jerry.
6.
I'm gonna have to because I've only got 1, 2, and 9.
Yeah, she's got
Yeah,
2.
6.
6 for you.
6.
So Jerry, you have. I love this. Is so much fun. You have 1 and 9 left, and Steve,
Yep.
you have 1 and 9 left.
could
So
go
you've got the X-Men franchise.
The X-Men franchise.
9.
Yeah.
Yeah. 9.
So both of your number ones is, and drumroll please, I have gone for Pirates of the Caribbean franchise.
Oh.
Really?
Oh. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Wouldn't have put that as number 1, but I would have still put it above X-Men.
I tell you what. I'm
Should have put John
not,
Wick as 1.
I'm not. I thought Harry Potter was left, and that was going to really upset me.
Oh, Jesus. If it had been Harry Potter, I would have had to
I
go
thought
over
this
John
is where we were
Townsend's
going
head.
with this.
I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna put Harry Potter last, but I
yeah.
thought, do you know what? I'll put, because Pirates of the Caribbean can be quite controversial on whether it's good or not, and I thought,
Yeah.
I'll put that because I don't.
No,
I'll be honest.
I enjoy Pirates.
I don't think
Yeah,
there's
I
a
did.
bad Pirates of the Caribbean film, and I think Johnny Depp is excellent. There are some others in there that I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
I wonder where you'd put this because there's been some good and some bad films.
It's a good.
But also, I
wouldn't
like
have
just
put it as
giggling to
number
myself
one.
because it winds you up, Jerry.
Yeah, Dom. Honestly, you
Yeah.
did redeem yourself on that one. I can breathe now. I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought that you might have gone with, but then it's not a franchise. I suppose Nolan's Batmans are a franchise. I suppose, are they?
Yeah, I did think about like doing like Batman and Christian Nolan's Batman, or I could have done what else could I have done? Oh, there's loads to choose from, but I
Well,
just kind of
I
picked
tell you-
some. I just did.
I tell you what would have been a difficult one towards the end if you had said The Matrix.
I deliberately avoided the
Oh.
Matrix because I thought that's so. There's like, if I look at them, like Back to the Future, like just gradually gets worse. Mission Impossible, I just think like just good action films, but there's not really a thing. Fast and Furious, you either love them or hate them, but they're just good shit films. John Wick again just gets worse. Star Wars is probably the most controversial.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, I think, is probably my highest because although I haven't seen Rings of Power, but I love the 3 films, especially in their extended edition. That just nothing beats that. And The Hobbit are not
Do you
bad.
include the Do you include the
they're
Hobbit?
they're not bad, but I just love the first 3. Indiana Jones, take it or leave it type thing. Die Hard
Okay, so
again.
Indiana Jones.
Take it or
Indiana
leave
Jones.
it.
They should have stopped at 3. They should have stopped at 3. Not made the crystal thingy, and not made the one where he goes back and through the space portal in a
Yeah.
borrowed German Heinkel. Sorry, that was just stupid.
X-Men, there isn't really an X-Men franchise anymore because they're part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but if you go back to the original X-Men films that they originally made with Hugh Jackman, they're entertaining, but they're, again, 9 is probably about the right place for them. And then I think Pirates of the Caribbean, again, they just gradually get worse. So, like if I chose The Matrix, it's not a gradual get worse, it's an amazing film,
It's a massive
great
drop-off.
action
Ooh.
sequence, shit. Done.
Yeah.
Right, and that's it.
The first one was brilliant. The first one was brilliant. The second one, I liked the story in the second one. The acting
I
was
love
a
the
bit
action
cringe.
sequences in the second one.
The action sequences.
Third one was stupid,
Yeah.
and then it got even more stupid when they decided to try and.
Oh, the fourth one was
Lemon.
shocker.
I've not seen the fourth one,
absolute-
I'll be totally
Oh,
honest.
it's
Awful.
Dom. Just
No,
don't.
Don't bother.
It's
No.
so bad.
No,
It
I mean,
is
if you want to watch
so
Neo,
bad.
it's Neo with a Zimmer frame trying to,
Yeah. I love
No,
I
I
love
don't-
the sequence. I love the sequence of Neo versus all of the Agent Smiths in number 2. I just think that's such a good sequence. I just love that. I love
hated
the music.
the story. The whole story at the end of it was just so. I wanted the Matrix to be a bit about hope, right? I wanted it to be a bit like good machine. Where it came into the world was at about that point.
Yeah.
But then it all was just so bleak, and it was so... the whole Zion shooting octopuses thing for 5 hours was...
Yeah, that was so weird.
Deal with that. But her fourth one was...
At least I can sleep
I
tonight.
wanted it to be good. But it was so bad.
At least you can sleep tonight. Is that the
At
way
least
it
I
is?
can sleep tonight. Thanks, Dom. You weren't
Fair
too
enough.
cruel.
So if you could pick a trilogy or a franchise, regardless of what Dom said, to put into your number one, what would it be?
My favourite franchise.
What is your favorite movie franchise? For me, it's going to be the... I want to say the John Wick franchise, because yes, 1 was good, 2 was great, 2 was probably the best, like Empire. John Wick 2 was like Empire. 3 I enjoyed. 4 I enjoyed. Ballerina I really enjoyed. There were none of them that I didn't actually enjoy, whereas I've watched some of other film franchise type thing and gone,
I don't know. It's a tough one. John Wick is up there.
That's a tough question. John Wick
That
is
is a
up
very
there.
tough question. John Wick is up there. Probably.
Based
number
upon
one.
my impassionate defense of it, I think the Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy of Lord of the Rings especially, I just think is so good, especially in extended edition form, that it just eclipses anything that's bad. I've not seen The Rings of Power to really judge it. Not heard great reviews. And The Hobbit's watchable, so yeah. I just, yeah. Go on, Jerry. Which one?
Yeah, if I had to choose right now, without giving it any more thought, I'd say John Wick. So for exactly the same reasons as Steve said, it's just... it was a case of I enjoyed one film maybe slightly less than the other, but I enjoyed them all. I haven't seen Ballerina.
There's not any that I kind of sit there and go, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, because even when you... And it's interesting, you get more from them when you rewatch them. So I didn't like number 4, but then I rewatched it. I was like, actually, it's a very good film. And then I
It is a good
watched it
film.
again. I was like,
No, I
yeah,
agree.
I think the worst one is number 3.
3 isn't the best.
I'm
it's not
with
the
you,
worst.
actually. I'm with you on that, Tom. I'm with you. I actually think 4's got more
But
to
that's
give,
like
and
saying... I'd like to point out, that's like saying, right, I like chocolate cake and lemon tart and raspberry pavlova and... trying to think of something else now. Custard roulade, I don't know. And saying that my least favourite is the raspberry pavlova. But I would still not... If somebody said, do you want nothing or raspberry pavlova? I'm like, give me the raspberry pavlova.
Yeah, exactly that.
It's just... If somebody said, do you want chocolate tart or raspberry pavlova? But give me the chocolate tart, right? It's
Yeah.
that type of thing, so. Well, I'm going to do Top Gear. On that bombshell, what are your final thoughts, gents? We shall come to you first, chat Stevie T.
Well, for a podcast that I've not done any preparation for, and I thought was going to be a complete balls up, it's actually gone off quite well. I can't believe that we are 2 hours and 33 minutes in. I've had 3 loo breaks, and it's not been complete chaos. So, I mean, it's we've actually had, out of 2.5 hours of talking, I think we've had at least 25 minutes of interesting shit. So, it's not bad.
Well, you made Jerry laugh, right? Well, that's the most important
Yeah.
thing of this.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing. That's the only reason I come on here is to make Jerry laugh.
You're going to ask me
Jerry?
my final thoughts now, aren't you?
Your final thoughts?
Yardley Gold. 60% of the
Yardley
time it
Gold.
works. Every time.
In 1986, 100% of the time it worked.
There you go.
100% of the time.
Those are my final thoughts. Dom?
Oh,
It was
Jesus.
like a magnet.
I'm going to buy some Yardley Gold because it's so cheap with my next Amazon order, and just to see, and I'm going to wear it into the office just just for the sake of
Yeah,
it,
people
just to
go-
see what you lot say.
Dom, your skin's all blistered and peeling off. What's happened? And you go,
I know, but that's the bit
splashed
that made me
on some
chuckle.
Yardley Gold.
Yardley
can't believe
talcum
it's £2
powder may
something.
cause skin irritation. To fuck is that? Let's utterly them.
I'm genuinely concerned that it costs £2.
My eyes.
Finally have a fragrance I can afford.
That's what they do in films. They don't throw sand; they throw Yardley Gold's talcum powder into their eyes, and
Talcum
that's
powder,
what blinds
yeah.
everybody.
Do you remember that scene in Indiana Jones where Matey's face melts? That's going to be your
Yeah.
face when you splash on.
That's in
Yardley
Raiders of the
Gold.
Lost Ark. That's the first one, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, what you might want to do is there's two things you should probably keep it away from. One is your face, the other is your nuts. Because the last thing you want is
Why?
irritation.
Well, at least you'd walk around like Indiana Jones in the chaps if you put it on your nuts.
You'd walk around like Clint Eastwood. You'd be like,
yeah. 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world.
John Wayne. Tom, final thoughts?
Do you know what? I was like, people know me, I always worry about these things too much, and I was like a little bit like, oh my god, this is all last minute and things like that. It's been a busy October, and we're doing the next podcast in less than 2 weeks, so because we've got a guest that can only do a specific
Ooh.
time. So
it's not me then. Damn.
no, it's not you, chat Stevie T.
I could come along and take the piss out of him for the show.
You won't know what has hit you. So yeah, my final thoughts is as normal, these just turn into great conversations, and I love it. So thank you for coming on at last minute, chat Stevie T, Jerry. It's a
Thank you
pleasure
for having
as
me.
always.
As always.
And
I
with
didn't
that,
get to read to you from the great. I didn't, and I think it's probably for the best.
Well, no, you said your knee bone's connected to your thigh bone, which is then.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
but then you said it's connected to your shoulder bone, and that's when I became concerned.
It is, eventually. There's a whole bunch of ribs and
Like
stuff
8
in the way.
degrees of
but yeah.
separation there.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more than that. I think there is one bone that's not
15,
connected to
I think.
anything. That's the only one I know of. So, folks, thank you very much for watching and listening. I don't know if this was less or more delirious than our last podcast, but maybe we should rename ourselves to be Delirious and Jovial rather than Distinct and Jovial, since that
Maybe.
seems to be the consistent theme.
I think you should call yourselves Last Minute and Joe.
It's got to start with D.
Damn, last minute and Joe.
The Last Minute.
The last minute.
Thank you very much for watching and listening, folks. We shall catch you on the next podcast.
You could call it. You could call it the
Oh, God,
Last
Steve's
Minute
got
and
more
Jesus.
thoughts.
How did we pull? No, wait. You could call it the Last Minute and Jesus. How did we pull that off?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we do. To fuck
Nice.
and Jesus take the wheel. Bye, everybody.
Bye. What the actual? I love it.